Shall we begin?
You are now listening to an altogether less fashionable variety of soccer podcast. Broadcasting live from the capital city of Columbus, Ohio. Welcome to
ACES Radio.
I got the new wings with the Zima flavor sauce.
I've given this no thought whatsoever. I don't believe in God, Morgan. You know that. Hashtag probably riding cock.
They're in your face. They're a little different. I think it's super cool. I love them. Jamie, ignorant slut.
Hold on to your butts.
Now, here are your hosts, Morgan Hughes, John Zadar, Greg Benson, and Darby Schnarpus.
Oh, yeah, baby. Ignorant sluts, shitlords, and celebrity fans alike. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, it's already too late. You're tuned in to the latest, the lamest, and possibly last episode of ACES Radio. It's a Buffalo Bills podcast only. Coming up tonight on the program, Cruisers FC end the 2017 season with a loss away to Toronto FC. The panel will discuss cracking the code tonight. It makes its triumphant return as we try to decipher what Anthony Precourt means when he uses words. He's a snack. Fanballs, they are back in there, thrown about as liberally as ever. Darby's not here, but I'd like to remind him anyway that he is old and also is stupid. Then on segment 2, the rarest of all rare treats as a celebrity guest, unlike any other, which we don't mean as a compliment, stops by the show. Jonathan T-Bone Smith from 97.1 The Fan is here, bitches. He's here to talk about things and also about stuff. What a rare treat. On segment 3, we do not head live on Periscope for your hot takes, aka the battle for the grand prize, as the segment is going to be too short and the competition is too over. However, we will talk about Noron Tour failures. There's one from last night that's going to blow your brains apart. Prediction scores, prediction updates not happening, Cruisers versus Offseason FC, Hang On Tour, the AGS Attack War, and so much fucking more. Brought to you as always by benevolent corporate overlord sponsors, Blood and Urine, and broadcasting live from the beautiful front room here at Endeavor Brewing Company. My name is the continuing champion, Morgan Hughes, a.k.a. the #1 handsy boy. And I'm joined as always by AAA, the absentee amateur artist himself, Captain Jean-Luc the Wet Boy Zadar, and the Hollywood racist, Gregulator 614 himself, Greg Wesson Crusher Benson. Fellas, mapaches, lads from different dads, brothers from different mothers, and amigos de Guillermo. How in the hell have you been?
I am very impressed that you were able to read such small print from that flavor text entering the show, the printout that you've got in front of you.
What are we to this thing?
Yeah, that thing. Is
These
that
are
not
game notes?
Is that that's you actually took notes?
Yeah, I mean, I did some prep because we have a Master Report legend here, and that's what they do on Master Report. Greg.
They do?
No,
that's news to me.
Yeah.
Wait,
that never happened.
You're telling me I could have just called in from the comfort of my living room for this show?
Roasted. John Zadar, welcome to the program, you dirty bastard. How you been, pal?
I've been better.
Yeah?
I was a lot better 24 hours ago.
Why, were you on the Noron Tour bus as well?
No, I was definitely not. That's why I was better.
That's why he was better.
Yeah. The crew hadn't played yet.
Yeah.
You were out of the country.
Yeah.
Life was good.
Darby was also out of the country.
Darby's still out of the country.
Darby sucking.
I can't believe you just left that old man wandering the streets of Toronto.
Yeah, well, he's a bastard. And actually, the first piece of housekeeping, of which there are 2, John, if you don't mind. Is,
You're announcing this is the end of his involvement with the show?
Darby's dead.
You found him in a dumpster behind Castor Connection?
That's right, Greg.
Yeah.
You've said that now that 4 to 5 to 6 people are dead, and none of them have proven to be dead
He's in a
yet.
shallow grave with Kevin Burns and Derek Hughes.
Oh.
We look forward to that grave being set on fire. Darby's not here this week. He's in Toronto living the good life. He had an Airbnb, and therefore I actually want him to die because of what I went through. Tune into segment 3 to find out. Last piece of housekeeping, season finale of ACES Radio, season 2 coming up next week, featuring celebrity guest Mike Flick. You'll know him as most crew parody accounts on Twitter. We're going to talk to him about stuff and things. Trophies will be given out as well, Greg. They are in. They have come in the mail. Dave Greeley and Anthony Precourt sent them to me personally. They said, Morgan,
did they?
You smell great. You're great with kids. Here are some trophies. So
I wouldn't open that package necessarily.
I open every package. It's
maybe
my thing.
just full of bees.
What if I told you, Greg, I was going to go ahead and mute Channel 2 for the rest of our lives?
I'd say there's nothing plugged into it, so it's not going to make a damn bit of difference, Morgan.
That's right, Greg. They say the only... No, wait. Segment 2, segment 1, here we are. Blah, blah, blah.
You've
Back
done
to
this
you.
before. It's fine. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program, if you will. Friend of the show, long time, first time, Jonathan T-Bone Smith. T-Bone Smith.
Totally well deserved. I've been waiting all day to do this.
Yeah.
And 3, 2, 1.
Oh, he's doing
Oh,
my
shit.
God.
Just the most podcast thing ever. I
T-Bone
love it.
Smith.
All right,
Deanna
I'll
Troy.
participate this time.
Commander Worf.
What if I told you that this time, when we have like a professional soccer celebrity on, you get him to record a bump instead of forget?
Nope, won't do it. We'll probably forget. French, do it.
You'll have to explain all that technical jargon. I have no idea what record a bump is.
Doesn't know what a bump is.
I'll do my best.
Welcome to the program, Smitty.
Thanks for having me.
We played the boo drop automatically because you are associated with Massive Report.
Yeah, that's fine.
We will get into that on segment 2.
It's the same reaction that Morgan and I get just while walking down the street anyway.
Yeah, but that's because we're
It's
not
the
wearing
reaction I
pants.
get every time I go out in public, so you're fine.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Great to have you. You are one of the 3 people we've been wanting to have on here. You, Adam Jardy, and Mike Flick. I mean, Dom Tiberi's above all those people.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
It's always good to check people off. You know, let's get into it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. And I mean, like, this is going to be painful. No one wants to do this, but we have to because this is a Buffalo Bills podcast. And
Greg Walter is a puppet. I hate to break it to you. Nobody wants to do this. He
What?
was right. Yep.
what?
Sorry. It's not real.
And that's your song, Greg.
What song?
Back to you.
Is Morgan playing something in the moment? I have no
Cruisers
idea.
FC taking on Toronto FC, Leg 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals 2017. Your formation, 3-4-2-1. They claimed. I mean, I guess, I don't know. We'll get into that. Abubakar, Williams, Mensah across the back. Sanch, Abu, Trap, Awful in the middle. Maram, Higuain is attacking mids, and Kamara up top per usual. Your subs, Monty came on for Abubakar in the 73rd. John for Abu in the 80th. Jimenez, John's boy, came on for Sanch in the 85th minute. Josie Altidore with the lone goal for Toronto in the 60th minute. Greg Benson.
Yes.
The Hollywood Racist.
Yes.
What started with a 2-1 win against Atlanta in Charleston on the 18th of February ends with a 1-0 loss against Toronto on the 29th of November. 9 months of soccer, of crew soccer. It was a long, strange trip. And if you got pregnant that first day, that child exists in the real fucking world. That's how long
Congratulations
it's
to
been.
you on your newborn.
Yeah. No goals in the last 3 games. No goals in the 4 out of the last 5 games for Crew IC. Held scoreless at Atlanta, at NYCFC in Leg 2, and both legs against Toronto. Going out with a whimper. Back to you.
Yeah, if you can't score, you're not going to win. Sorry, it's simple as that. Not to get all John Madden, but...
Except on PKs.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Geez, there are a couple of things that I pointed out last night that if Ola Kamara remembers that he's a striker and knows how to extend his body to put a ball in the net, that's an entirely different result that we're talking about tonight. If Justin Meram has a functioning left foot, it is an entirely different result that we're talking about tonight.
Or a right foot.
Or, I mean, really. But the first one stands out to me more than the second one. I mean, strikers
First one was a perfect
put
right-footed hook shot that he loves.
Yeah.
He opted to take one of the heaviest touches known to man, and
That was one of the most unbelievable.
and then get slide tackled by a Michael Bradley who somehow sprinted 20 yards in half of a second.
But I still think that somebody who plays on the left wing hits that first time with his left foot rather than trying to take a controlling touch.
No, you hit
And-
it's a right. I mean, regardless, he needs to be able to make the shot
yeah, right.
without taking a touch, which
or
he should have
take
been.
the shot.
At least
But it set-
to attempt.
it set
the
up
It was a
shot.
very nice pass. It wasn't very fast. It sat up pretty well, and he had a really good angle to approach it and hit it with his right
Yeah.
foot. And
It was a great sequence. Higuain called his shot, basically. It was like, go there, put the perfect ball on Ola, who for once wasn't a complete ball hog, and laid it off perfectly. Everybody was in a perfect spot, Greg,
Yep.
for Meram's meat hook, which at times you think is the only thing he can do. But he took that crazy touch that almost took the ball out of bounds for fuck's
it was
sake.
the most straightforward opportunity they had all night, in my opinion. I think
It really was, and it was the perfect opportunity to capitalize on. I thought Toronto were very wasteful with a lot of their possession, especially in the first half. They gave the ball away far too easily. The crew pressured them high. You know, they were charging at the ball almost every time, which will wear your defenders out very quickly, but also was very effective in sort of throwing Toronto off their game because they're at their best when they dictate the run of play. And Crew attacking them really knocked them out of their, ruined their mojo. And unfortunately they couldn't do anything with those opportunities.
I mean, you guys can elaborate on this, but I thought that I thought the Crew played a really great first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought the formation was really smart, and I thought that they really controlled the game well, and I thought Toronto looked very out of sorts for that first 20 or so minutes, and I was feeling really confident, and then...
Jesus, how many times are you going to clear your goddamn throat into the microphone today?
John
I've been
Zadar
sick.
has coughed into the microphone.
John Zadar has coughed into the microphone.
Get to
Oh, you
use
actually do
that
use that bump
for
still.
legitimate
Nice.
purposes.
Got it.
I don't remember what I was talking about because you distracted me.
Fantastic.
Great.
You had a
here's-
great first 20 minutes. That's what I remember.
Yes.
Smitty,
Yeah.
4 goals given up in the last 5 games is somehow not good enough. Less than a goal a game, and you don't move on. I mean, that's a hell of a way to go out, specifically against possibly the best team in MLS history.
Yeah, that's the thing that I struggle with watching that game last night and the first leg too is, I mean, okay, 0-0 at home, I thought that's really, I'll take that result. Everyone nationally was like, oh, Toronto's got to be confident. And I thought, well, sure, it wasn't 4-1 like the City game, but I felt pretty good going into this game. And then, like you said, the first 20 minutes, I'm watching the game thinking, they're taking it to Toronto. They're not controlling possession, but I never was delusional enough to think that would happen. I just thought...
I think we've learned that that's bad, by the way,
Right.
for Crew to
Yes.
have 73% of the possession.
Exactly. If you absorb their pressure but don't give them real chances, I didn't feel like they really generated chances. They generated one, but outside of that one, I didn't feel like, obviously the penalty kick happened and Zach came up big, but they weathered the storm and got the big break from Zach, and I thought, okay, this is that team of destiny stuff set in, and then the Josie injury, non-injury, back hurt again, I'm off again, I'm on again, 20 minutes of delays, and then, oh, hey, I'm healthy enough to score the one
But only 4 minutes of
goal.
stoppage time.
It was...
defensive.
Could have been 10.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, defensively, and not just the back three, I guess it was, but Zach Steffen as well, and again with the way they pressured them in the midfield and threw Toronto off their game, was all combined. It read to me very much like a shutdown pitcher who will pitch like a no hitter or a perfect game or something like that. But if he doesn't get any run support at the other end, it's meaningless.
Oh, you mean John Smoltz in the 1991 World Series, Game 7 against Jack Morris? Fan-fucking-tastic. Thanks for bringing it up, Greg.
Jesus Christ. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that
But
was.
thank you for that, Rain
That was
Man.
a brave.
That was a moment.
Yeah.
Braves are full of criminals, and they have terrible prospects.
10
But that's-
10 innings of 2-hit ball, 1 run given up, and a loss.
I don't remember too many World Series except for 2017. Morgan, back to you.
Back to you, Greg. Sydney is sky yellow, like the Wellington.
Sky yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, I'll say it again because I think that you're a soccerman. They're calling you that on the streets as
Oh,
well.
is that what they said?
As well as an amateur.
I haven't heard anything from the streets lately because I picked my ear up.
Don't worry about it. I've been keeping my ear to the streets.
I knew you would.
I think that you'll have a hot take about this. Not just like, the whole no goals in the last 3 games and no goals 4 out of the last 5. Like, AGS Attack has told us that Pedro Sanch was going to score all the goals.
Yeah.
And Merrim had, 16 goals after 2 fucking games in the regular season? After that, bupkis.
Yeah.
Those guys, the wingers, where the fuck were they? And Ola Kamara forgetting how to even put his goddamn body on a ball. I mean, there were 10 crosses in the last 2 series where if he just puts his leg in the right spot, it's a goal accidentally or on purpose. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, the postseason performance and regular season performance from Pedro was really disappointing. I don't really know what to say. I've made my feelings more than known on here and on Twitter, but I honestly would have loved to have seen him on the bench starting last night and with Mane starting in his spot. I think Mane's been the more dangerous and the better partner on that side for his defensive half, whoever that happens to be that day or whatever. Pedro, honestly, I don't understand why he's not getting more vitriol. I mean, everyone was real eager to shit on Mensah throughout the year, and while Mensah's mistakes cost us goals against, Pedro's mistakes cost us goals for. I mean, I heard Landon praising him at one point last night, and I just don't understand it. I thought he's had an awful playoffs, and I thought he had an awful night last night.
Yeah, he was ordinary last night. I wasn't particularly impressed. I mean, he had a couple of plays. He had one really good defensive play early in the piece, but that was it. He was largely invisible for the rest of the night, at least in terms of a guy that you brought in under the circumstances that you did from the league that you brought him in, with the pedigree that he's got, with the status that he's got, you expect to see guys like that rise up in the playoffs.
The narrative for Mensah was always most expensive defender in the league. And
I mean, that's just a fact, though.
It is, but it's also a fact that Pedro is the most expensive player for the Crew ever.
Yeah.
And he has had 6 months. He's had half of a season, and all he's contributed is 2 assists. And that's just not good enough.
Yeah.
That is arguably worse than Ethan Finley was doing. Ethan Finley has at least scored 1 goal.
If you have a chance to go back 6 months and do this over again, do you keep Ethan Finley?
No. I take Sanch because
I think you got to roll the dice on Sanch. I agree.
I don't necessarily think that he's terrible. I think, Smee, you agree with me on this, but like, you just want to see him put the ball in the back of the net a few times.
Well, when you pay him the money that he's making, you want goals.
Right.
Like, there's just unless you're a center back, you don't. You know, what I mean, that's the one position on the field with the Crew where you could say, all right, well, he's not supposed to score goals, but even there, you get production typically. But
it's not Will Trapp where it's like, okay, sometimes he gets involved in the offense.
Yeah, Will too,
who outplayed Michael Bradley last night, by the way.
Yeah, well,
by a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, I have my feelings on Michael Bradley. We all do. But I guess with Sanch, I come back to
Sanch, yeah.
I come back to the fact that I do think defensively he was a little underrated by some. Like, I thought he did track back okay and got more of the ball than. But I think that's what limited him, at least in this game, from going forward. Some of the stuff that he did in the first few playoff games, like the City game, I thought he was good. I thought he was really good, even in the first leg against Toronto. But it required, I think he was playing a role more of, I'm going to get the ball, I'm going to get into dangerous spaces, and then I'm going to rely on other equally talented people to take what I'm giving them and move forward. And it just, I think we all wanted him to just be the guy who attacks players, takes them on, goes right into the 18, fires a shot on net. And I don't think that's been his game since he's been here. Doesn't mean he can't be effective. Just, I think that was, for me at least, where my expectations kind of changed. I had to learn to appreciate what he's bringing, but at the end of the day, you pay him a lot of money. You hope to see some goals.
Yeah, the talent is definitely there. I mean, you can see it, but it's just not resulting in any production.
It's not
goals or assists.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
is the big
if he was
part.
Getting all these assists, like, that's fine. That's great. I honestly often appreciate the work that goes into the assist more than it does the finish. But he's not doing either. And
the highest praise that I've heard on Santos, or at least Sanch, whatever, I still can't bring myself to say it.
It's because it's wrong.
Non-ironically.
Sanch, Greg.
Sanch.
Just call him Ponch.
Ponch. Okay, sure. So he's Eric Estrada now, is he?
Sure, why not?
He's on the motorcycle. Okay. No, the highest praise that I've had for him is that he provided, at least if nothing else, a decoy to open up the field for Higuain. Now, you can go back and look at Higuain's numbers and whether or not that made a difference, whether he was, but I didn't see it personally. I don't see where there was a tangible benefit by having Higuain get more running room because people are paying attention to Sanch now.
Yeah,
it wasn't there.
I see that. I see the point, and I like, you're probably right to a degree, but without. Jesus Christ, I hate this. I haven't gone back and looked at the numbers, but just based off of memory, the first half of Higuain's season was better than the second half, I believe.
Yeah.
Statistically, so Pedro being on the team did not result in Higuain getting more goals or assists.
So you're really grasping at straws here, trying to find a
where's the value
benefit. Trying to find a value, and especially as Jonathan said, especially to find the value for money for what you spent on him. What's the return that you get?
That's mainly what I am wanting to see. People were pissed about the money we were spending on Jonathan.
Yeah, it was the same knock on Mensah earlier in the year. He's like, if you're going to spend that much money on a defender, you want to see him not do some of the stuff that he did.
It's weird with
people were scared of Ethan Finley. He drew attention. We didn't need to pay another guy an extra whatever amount of money to continue doing the same shit that Ethan Finley did.
Yeah, it's weird with Sanch that I think that he reinvigorated Higuain, but maybe not for the better. I've said it before. It's like when you have an old dog and then you get a puppy. It's like, oh shit, the old dog remembers how to run around the backyard, and then it's dead because it overworked its heart a little too much. Like last night, I remember thinking, Higuain is on big time television. He's got Sanch. Like, every pass has to be the most artistic, I'm an Higuain. Look at the name on the back of my jersey. I'm an Higuain. I'm going to backheel this 45-yard ball to Kamara. Like, sometimes just put the fucking ball on him and go at goal.
I mean, there was a moment there at the end, I think it was off of a corner, where the ball dropped to somewhere near the top of the box, and Pedro was wide open, and he just miffs this fucking volley. And then the ball, like, ricochets and came out to him again, and I don't know if he was trying to shoot it or if he was trying to serve it in, but either way, the ball barely got a foot off the ground and went right into a TFC defender. And he was still unmarked for the second time.
That was the one where
I'm just like,
Josh played that ball to Merrim and he sprayed it over the goal with his left foot.
And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Anyway, great way to finish up the season. Everybody's up in that last free kick, including Stefan. And we take a short...
and then Harry decides to shoot it into a defender.
Play it short to Harry, who barely gets off a blocked shot.
Yeah.
What a great representation of the last 5 games, with the exception of the first leg against NYCFC.
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus.
I mean, the playoffs, with the exception of like 2 games, have all been relatively low scoring. I don't think... I mean, there was the very first 2 games when the playoffs started, which were both, 4-5-0 blowouts.
Are we talking about us or the entire league?
No, the whole
league. There was Vancouver blew out San Jose.
Yeah, and then there was another blowout that same night. New York blew out Chicago.
New York, that's right. Red Bulls.
And then there was our game against City. And those are the only 3 games, I think, that had more than 2 goals from both teams combined.
No, there was the 2-1 Houston win in Portland. And that was it. That was the only other.
Yeah.
But
every other game
that's
has
a
had,
normal scoreline. You don't think about that as a high.
And every other game has had 1
but it's all of
or
a sudden
2 goals,
a high
and that's
benchmark.
It. Yeah.
And,
So it wasn't like it's been a high scoring affair for everyone else in the playoffs either.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair. I felt like the Crew's strategy had to be somewhat, let's try to control. I mean, again, look at the offenses you're going against. Atlanta obviously has a ton of power to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. We know David Villa and City FC's got that potential.
He's a monster.
And then Toronto arguably has the best roster ever assembled, defensively, midfield, forwards, whatever you want to throw at it. I mean, to be able to come through all that with the amount of goals that they didn't give up. I mean, I guess that's the part of it that I sometimes struggle when we watch. Again, to bring it back to football, college football, we're talking about Wisconsin this week because the Buckeyes are playing them. They play great defense. Their offense is kind of meh. But that defense has got them to an undefeated season.
Hold on, I have a drop for Wisconsin having a good defense and a stout running game. We interrupt this regularly scheduled Buffalo Bills talk for a bit of breaking news. We go now live to the continuing champion Morgan Hughes, who's on scene. Thanks, Eric. Wisconsin has a stud running back, a couple big fucking white people on the offensive line, and a decent linebacking core. Back to you, T-Bone.
Exactly right. But that's
my breakdown.
Beauty of that breakdown and the beauty of what the Crew do is that they were trying to, I think, play that style to get to this point, and it got them all the way to within, as we've all been pointing out, a bunch of screw-ups away from being in MLS Cup again against, God, the best offense ever, the best defense ever.
The best team in league history.
All that could have been shut up if just one of those damn balls gets knocked in.
I mean, you can criticize the score lines, but the score lines are exactly what the Crew set out for them to be.
Right.
Each and every single game. With the exception of New York City away. But yeah, you're exactly right.
They
went into Atlanta
defensively and not.
Yeah, they went into every single game. I guarantee you, Berhalter went into there saying we need to limit their chances, and doing so means we're limiting our own.
Yeah.
So
giving up 1 goal in 2 games against Toronto, giving up no goals to Atlanta, giving up 3 goals in 2 games to NYCFC, 2 of which were you're playing a desperate team on the road.
You just listed like the 3 most powerful offenses in the league.
Yeah, so hell yeah, big thumbs up, high five to the defense. They got their shit together in the second half of the season, and it's a shame the offense couldn't back them up. Let's move on. Color impressions last time this year. Yes. Greg Benson, the Hollywood Racist. If you're at Hendok's Pub and you have slipped and fallen into a pile of feces and dead children and blood, and there's blood there also, it's Greg. He murders your kids. Back to you, Greg.
Yeah, that never gets old.
Nope.
My color impression is gold.
Oh, yeah? Is that right, Greg?
Yeah.
Gold like what?
Not gold like the Columbus Crew, but gold like what the result could have been if only. Like, I have these visions of like this shining city on the hill that's just out of reach. It's the El Dorado of playoff games. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not Franklinton.
I think it's probably Franklinton. Either that
Franklinton's
or Berliner
mostly,
Park.
Franklinton's more brown,
yeah.
I think.
Brown like what, Greg?
brown like the drop
the
you're about
shit
to
on
play?
the kid's
No,
chest?
you're wrong one. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan T.
That's
Smith.
the one. There you
it
go.
is.
Thanks.
Your
Glad
color
we work so
impression
well
of the
together.
match, my friend.
My color impression is going to be green. All of the green space in front of the goal that was sitting there, not being defended, that the ball could have just slid right through into the
Fucking
net
pro. You're
multiple
a pro.
times. Unfortunately for us,
That's
it
how
did
you
not
do
happen,
it.
but-
You know, see, I come up with different colors every week, and people are like, "You're one of the best pros in the business," and I feel like you're you got my, you know what I'm talking
There's
about.
another green that we could go with.
Yeah.
The color of money.
The color of ATX.
I'm going with a third green.
Oh, is that right, John?
Yeah, I am.
Great. Go ahead.
I'm going with green, just
right.
like that sweet, sweet, sticky icky
Oh yeah.
that the Noron tour bus
That's a teaser.
got.
That's a teaser for segment 3.
I have come up with.
Oh, you're talking about.
the conspiracy to end all conspiracies.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Don Garber paid the Mounties to steal the weed from GCG Bag. They then ran it over to BMO Field, where they summarily slipped it into whatever Josh Williams had for his pregame meal, which I can only assume explains why he played like absolute utter trash last night, because he was high as shit.
Is it GCG bag or GC dime bag now?
That's good.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. Green like what? Weed.
Green like weed.
All right. Tune into segment 3 to hear that tale.
Green like the Colorado Rapids.
I've been giving it a lot of thought this week, John. I've been laying next to Pam in bed, and I'm saying,
No, you
"Girl,
haven't.
don't touch me. I find you to be disgusting. I
Don't be here tomorrow.
I don't want you, and you. I'm not interested in you as a sexual object." And she says, "Thanks." And then we just go about our business. So I says to her, "Pam, my color impression of the match is yellow."
And she says
she
yellow
says
like what? Morgan?
Yellow like what?
Yellow Beach, Columbus Crew.
That's right, Pam.
Yellow like what? You ruined it. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you screwed up. Okay. I was going to say, you're the one that screwed up, not me. Okay.
It's such a shame next week is the last episode of the year.
I don't know why you were just waiting for me to say the line that hadn't come yet.
You know, we've done like 2 shows in the last 7 weeks, and it's this is not a complicated program. Like, we just do the same fucking thing every time, and I just find myself forgetting what we do. I'm like,
Are you still talking about Pam?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Very funny, Greg. Greg, what if I told you there was a cure for the scourge that is dirty slut girlfriends in their upcoming wedding in July of next year?
I have no idea what that scourge or cure would be, but why don't you tell us?
That's right, Greg. They say the only cure for the scourge is dirty whore Pam is Chris Doran. And also knowledge.
Knowledge.
And now,
Yeah, it's knowledge.
an ACES
I kind of wish
radio
you just said
exclusive
Chris Doran, then we had moved on and skipped cracking the code.
They say it.
Everything we do is for the city.
We explain it.
We try and find out what Chris Doran means when he uses Pam.
Don't talk over the
With
intro.
benefits.
What? They speak English and what? What? English, motherfucker! Do you speak it? Yeah!
And it's all for Columbus.
For Columbus, indeed. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Cracking the Code, which is going to be called Greg Explanations. But John Zadar doesn't reply to text messages in a timely fashion. Lovely, lovely.
But when he does, it's with hilarious gems like Greg's explanation.
Yeah, that's pretty. I was actually pretty good. I was like, "Ooh, that's awesome!" But I already paid for this, so fuck off. This week's Cracking the Code clip. They're both from Anthony Precourt. You know what a rare treat. First of all, that guy is. I think I speak on behalf of all of Crew Nation.
He's a rare
Crew
something.
Soccer Nation. When I say he's invested, he's here. Everyone loves that guy.
He's hashtag for Columbus is what he is.
Just before this show started,
Yes.
I was up at the zoo talking to Jack Hanna, and he said that
Oh, Jack
Precourt's
Hanna?
exhibit is almost ready in the
Nice.
amphibian house.
He's one of 2 famous people from Columbus. The other, of course, being Archie Griffiths.
Oh, the world record pool ball
Number 1
guy.
Yeah, number 1 guy. Yeah, he plays at Ohio Horseshoe Palace.
Yeah.
So I says to Anthony Precourt, I says, "Anthony, did you see what Mayor Ginther and Alex Fisher said in their open letter to the community?" And he says, "Morgan, let me tell you what. Not only did I read the letter, but I got to tell you, you're great with kids and you smell terrific." And I says, "Anthony, thank you. Can we get back in the hot tub? Because I really like those backwoods cigars we were smoking earlier, and the Boone's Farm is off the charts, my friend."
Backwoods cigars, a.k.a. GCG bag weed.
That's right. We had some incinerator and passed out. So he says the following to me in 3, 2, 1.
Precourt Sports Ventures received and has read a letter distributed by Columbus Mayor Ginther and Alex Fisher. As noted 2 weeks ago, PSV remains open to productive dialogue should the city of Columbus choose to re-engage with PSV. Hashtag YOLO Snake 24 Snake Blaze. Let me snake.
Oh, Jesus. Fantastic. Thanks, Anthony Precourt. So the first clip is obviously the release that they sent out after Ginther and Fisher released their...
It's Ginther.
Yeah, Ginther. Sorry about that. Mayor Ginther.
Ooh, I love Ginther.
Yeah. So
I just drank some.
I think I went to high school with Ginther.
Ginther Mahal is my favorite wrestler.
So what struck me as great about this statement was that they're responding to a thing that made legitimate offers. That identified 3 specific plots of land.
Right.
That they said, we will absolutely make this work in every way we possibly can, including unspecified downtown public, privately held spots. So, and then for Precourt to come back and go, well, once you want to start having a conversation, bitch, feel free to let me know. T-Bone, back to you. Your thoughts.
I don't understand. Like, this is like you're arguing with a girl or a friend or whoever, and you're saying, okay, you've made these points. Here's my response to them. I understand why you said you don't think we've supported you in the business community. You don't think we have enough land. Here's the answer to that. And they go, well, you're just not listening. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
What are we not listening? Like, what else is there?
I just responded to your question, and you're asking me the same question again.
Dodge Park. Berliner Park shocked the hell out of me when I heard them say, like, yeah, we'll just, like, those softball fields
we'll just tear up this huge softball facility.
1 million people go to a
yeah,
year, whatever.
that are highly used.
Yeah, we'll just give you all of that, and you can redevelop 200 acres right off the freeway, right next to German Village. Okay, that's not good enough for you. How about the one that's like literally going to be the
Dodge
gateway?
Park is sick.
That's
sick. It's the most up and coming, desirable neighborhood in the entire city right now.
Yeah. And you're going to have the most visible plot of it from when you're on 70 or 315 or 71.
And you're going to have a sweet view of downtown from there. And
I don't know what Austin, like, just to compare, that's a stupid thing to do, but to compare what Austin has, what can they offer in response to that? Like, I'm not saying that you should get into that bidding war, but they're going to offer you, they're trying to see if there's parkland they can offer.
That's exactly right. They haven't offered shit yet. Now we've made 3 public and at least 1 private offers to this guy.
And it's not only that they haven't offered things, by all accounts, Austin is very hesitant to offer anything, particularly to somebody this is something that we've banged this drum several times in the last 6 weeks, but that they don't like people like Anthony Precourt. At all, not because of
no one does.
Well, it's not just because of him. It's not just because of his, what he's done over the last month or two. It's the fact that it's an out-of-state guy who's coming in saying, "Hey, I want to do this and this and this," and Austin's like, "Yeah, we've kind of already got our own thing here." That's
the part you guys weird. Let's be weird together. I mean,
Austin's
cool
very Portlandy in how it feels, in my opinion. Like this non-corporate, independent, like blah blah blah, yuppie hippie nonsense or whatever. Like however you feel about it, that's kind of I think the vibe that they try to.
Listen, John, my name is Dave Greeley, and when I go to work, I don't tuck my shirt.
Dave, let me
right?
ask you something. Is there going to be an evening with you like recently or soon that I can attend?
John, let me tell you what. An evening with Dave Greeley is going to be your wet dream come true,
Will you be serving any ice-cold Ginthers at this meeting?
Lots of Ginthers. Lots of Ginthers. I'm going to stand on a table. That's how you know I'm a real guy, by the way. I'm standing on a table. My shirt is untucked. I got the top button undone. I'm just one of you guys. Back to you.
I don't understand. That's the most frustrating part is, what is the city supposed to do? And then we didn't even touch on the fact that, holy shit, they said you will take the fairgrounds and just, you can have that too.
Yes, that's the third one.
What?
Yeah.
Like, you can have the fairgrounds redeveloped into whatever you want it to be.
John just showed me the picture of Greeley, and it looks like the Casual Friday version of that picture of Seb Gorka with the rifle.
You seen this?
Yes, I've seen that. It's awful. What's he doing with that putter?
I don't know.
Like he's at a cookout and he's just standing with a putter. Look at me, I'm just a golfer.
It looks like someone who's being posed for, now try to pretend like you're a human playing golf.
Right.
It's like, the humans play the golf, you say?
The human who's definitely not a robot, Dave Greeley.
He's enjoying his new active lifestyle, like a man about town.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
I've seen this. This is a screenshot from that part of the commercial where they say if you've had an erection for more than 4 hours.
I think that's actually the picture that they're warning you about. That you have to, if you look at it too long, you're going to get one. So
if you look at this for too long, you will not have an erection ever again.
If you experience an erection for more than 4 hours, just look at Dave Greeley for a while. I promise it'll go away.
Right.
If you look at this picture and are able ever again to get an erection, seek medical attention.
Not only seek medical attention.
You might have PSV.
This drop is just going to be on a loop
No amount
the rest of the segment.
Just keep playing it.
PSV is a medical condition.
I feel like the first thing you do when you start a company is sit in a room by yourself for 24 hours just saying the acronym over and over and over and over and over again and going, does it sound like an STD yet? And if after 24 hours it doesn't, then you can proceed with that
Does
name.
it sound like something we want?
Well, they started off with pre-court interactive sports supporters, and then they were like, oh, shit, that's piss. What are we going to do with that? No, so let's go with PSV. That sounds kind of like something bad. But
This is what happens when we get a radio guy in our midst.
I also know what the next Save the Crew vlog is going to be. It might be a seek medical attention if PSV lasts for longer than 4 hours. And, tune in to find out.
4 years.
Yeah.
Will there be diagrams?
It writes
There it
itself.
is. I'm not going to give you any credit for that one.
That's fine. You can take it.
Lovely. Yeah. No. So that they're referencing. They didn't. The thing that interests me is they referenced those three plots of land, but they didn't say what the specificity was regarding the investment, like the money, basically the money side. And they talked about it behind the scenes. So I found it interesting.
You mean
they
like
didn't talk about that? So it gives them an opportunity to again put another. I think they're handling this really well from a PR perspective, as opposed to MLS and
they're
PSV.
walking around the bonfire lighting little
Yeah.
little starter flames.
Right.
Well, I love how they dropped in the little shot that said, we realize that he's not up for selling the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So here are all the other solutions we proposed. 50-50 ownership, Green Bay, like throwing the Green Bay Packers thing in there too, which this is not likely to happen under Major League Soccer's guidelines.
But it's something
but it's
that
a
he
good
referenced.
dig. You take his words and
exactly, but they're the ones who reference that type of thing, and so you just throw it right back at him and keep the perfect time to release it. I mean, it worked so well that Don Garber got stuck in traffic and couldn't be on the halftime or the pregame show.
Yeah.
How was that traffic, by the way? You guys, you were there.
Lawless or something.
Was the traffic that bad that you couldn't get a car in?
We got two giant buses in, no problem.
Okay. All right.
Well, I wouldn't say no problem, but
Well, I mean, once we were there.
I mean, it's Canada. The only way that there's gridlock is people just constantly letting everybody else go through,
no, you go,
and
no,
nobody's
you
like,
go,
no, you after you, no,
God
I
help
insist,
you
you
if
first,
you pull up
and
to a
nobody
four-way
makes a
stop
move,
at the
and
same
everybody's
time.
just waiting for everybody else to go. It's just like log jams of politeness.
Lovely. Let's move on to the second cracking the code clip. After the game,
what a treat.
after the game, Anthony Precourt, of course, took to Twitter and tweeted for the first time in 6 weeks because something bad happened in Columbus. He needs to offer his condolences. As one of the top shitheads in the game today, John.
To you all, not us.
Yeah. So I gets on my phone on my pocket recorder and I says, Anthony Precourt, can you tweet something? Because we haven't heard from you since you started trying to steal the heart of our city away from us. And he says, Morgan, first of all, I'm a snake. And that was it.
is this just going to be 30 seconds of hissing?
Tune in to find out, John. In 3, 2, 1.
What a historic playoff run.
That's right.
Crew SC players and coaches earned so much respect for their achievements this season. It hurts right now, but these guys deserve to hold their heads high. Hashtag Crew SC. Hashtag YOLO Snake 24 Snake Blaze. Let me snake.
I wonder what that second hashtag he keeps using means.
YOLO Snake?
Yeah.
24 Snake
What could
Blaze
that
it?
possibly mean?
Is it YOLO Snake or Yellow Snake?
I think it's YOLO.
Hashtag Stanek. I was looking for that.
Oh,
That was a good one.
Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe that's what he's saying.
Hashtag
YOLO Stanek.
I'm going to get on the fashion.
24/7 blaze it.
Yeah.
Let me Stanek.
Were you here last week? I used that.
Did you?
Yes, that's why it's funny. God damn it.
Oh.
You weren't here last week. Nobody was here last
Yeah,
week.
we
It was
didn't do a
Thanksgiving
show last
week.
Go fuck yourself, all of you. All right, so two things strike me as awesome about this tweet. First of all, obviously, he hasn't tweeted since we've been on this giant playoff run. He hasn't congratulated anybody for anything, any of the wins, 10-game unbeaten streak, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, going within a Ola Kamara leg from hosting MLS Cup, he decides to break his Twitter silence to acknowledge that the team has been eliminated.
Yeah.
And goes out on a limb by saying that these players need respect. Oh my God, you guys got to salute their ambition, bitch. Like we've been doing this for 23 fucking years. Yeah. First of all, like we've been loving these players since before you fucking knew what soccer was. Way back, in 1992 when you were identifying Austin as a possible soccer market, according to your shithead fucking.
You were suckling from your daddy's petroleum
Trump
teat.
math. and second of all, he hasn't used the word Columbus in a tweet since like August 8th or some shit. Like, Crew SC, Crew SC, Crew SC.
Well, don't you know if you say the word Columbus, that
then you get Columbus?
Yeah.
And you don't get Austin.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
What?
How many are there?
There's 3. Lovely.
For a second there, it didn't look like there was going to be a third one.
Of course, if he says Columbus 3 times in a mirror, Andy Loughnane just comes up behind him and just rubs his shoulders and is like, "You okay?"
And then he unbuttons his shirt. Oh yeah, I got
you know why he keeps that button undone so that he can get into the hot tub that much faster.
That's right.
But it was strange that he was absent throughout pretty much the entire playoff run. Like even Bob Kraft was like, "Dude, you should probably check in on these guys because even that's a little much." But yeah,
I like that joke, Greg. That was good.
I noticed that he had thank you. He had absolutely nothing to say about the fans. Hey, thanks for supporting the team throughout the, like every team after they get eliminated from the season puts up some Facebook cover graphic or they, some tweet out. They're like, hey, thank you fans, thank you Columbus, thank you City and all of that for following the team this season and we'll be back next year and yada yada. There was none of that.
It just felt good, T-Bone, to know that the guy remembered how to tweet. Like I was worried about our guy.
Yeah, I know. I was too.
He was our guy. I'm glad to see that he's okay. Your thoughts?
Did you see the ratios? The little ratio at the bottom where that's always fun for me is to check.
Yeah, I tweeted that out.
Replies versus likes and
there
retweets.
were like 9, I think,
Let's check
9 retweets.
Let me give you an update on the statistics here. Yeah,
because at the time there were
we're looking at 412 replies.
Oh my God!
9 retweets and 67 likes.
Right. So yes.
Wow.
So his retweets were single digits.
Yeah.
His likes, which is just. In my mind, most of those people are just like, "Oh, save this so I can email this screenshot to like all
or
these people."
Or they're scrolling and they accidentally hit a heart button.
Yeah, right. It's not like
and don't know how to undo it.
Yes.
Agreed with you, dipshit.
Yeah,
so
it's no longer
that's
even
not
a
it.
thumb; it's just the heart.
Right. So then you've got the third one, which is people replying, which we all, I think, replied.
Yeah.
Everyone probably replied at some point who's listening to this podcast, who has thought of it. Like, it's just everyone knows that this guy is a complete tool.
And of course, the retweets thing only counts
is a great way
like
of putting
direct.
it. He's a fucking tool.
It only counts like actual direct retweets, like not retweets with a commentary or anything like that.
So I can see the 9 retweets, and one of them is Brian Dunseth. Another one is actually 2 of them are accounts whose bios are both in Spanish and both say the exact same thing, so are probably bots.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Precorto.
One more is an egghead account.
Yeah.
Dunny's, I would say Dunny's is probably, he does that Sirius XM show, and he's been kind of talking
it's
about
not
all
an
this.
endorsement.
So it's like, hey, here you go. That guy said this. You follow me for my Sirius thing. There you
then go. Another one is a different soccer podcast. And
there are other soccer podcasts?
2 are Crew fans. And one's an Atlanta fan.
Is one from Crew HD Videos?
No.
He retweets fucking everything.
No, well, see, I actually, you know what? I probably retweeted it, but I quote, tweeted
right,
it with
and that doesn't count in the retweet.
Won't show me
that.
It won't show me those.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. Because there's a lot of those, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's almost exclusively retweets, but here's my hot take on it.
Have you guys found now that, and I mean, I'm sure you have, I don't know why I'm asking this, but like just as a statement, where when someone brings up like, oh yeah, Anthony Precourt, I saw you tweet about your team, we're just like, the Parkland, and we just like, you're 9 degrees down that road, and it's hard to be like, yes, he did tweet about that. Did you know he hasn't tweeted for 6 weeks?
Yes.
Did you know that he's a complete liar? Did you know, like, you have to like pace yourself to almost not just become that guy who's wearing the sandwich board sign out on the corner yelling about something that nobody understands. Unless you're like this deep into it, I have to keep reminding myself, like, we have to reacquaint people with this is still happening. This is how it's happening. This guy's a liar.
And so much shit has happened, and so many like horrifyingly awful facts have come out, during this entire process that, I find people will come up to me like at work or, on the streets when I'm listening to the streets, and they'll say, like, what's going on with the crew? Are they going to move? And I'm like, I have 6 weeks of hot takes.
Yeah.
I don't fucking even remember half of this shit.
I had to do that today with my grandparents when I was at their house, and they were like, asked me about it, and I was like,
John?
I don't have the time.
Are the soccer crews coming?
That's what they said.
Is Rusty still in the Navy, John?
Rusty Pierce? I think he's dead with Kevin Burns.
Oh, no. Is he in a shallow grave by Crew Cat, John?
Yeah.
They want you to say grace.
I didn't realize your
My
family.
grandparents
I didn't
aren't-
realize your family were Brooklyn Jews.
Yeah, they're
John.
not, but it was pretty close.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Their last name
What do
is
you think
actually
my
Brooklyn
grandparents'
Jew.
names are? Guess.
I would say Violet and Old Man McGillicuddy.
I hope your grandmother's name is Morgan, and that's going to be like
What are their names?
Morgan is a grandma's name.
Robert and Louise.
Ooh, that's pretty old. That's seriously old people shit.
That's why I thought you might guess Louise, because it's an old. That's definitely an old.
You know what?
person
Let's go around the panel, which is another term for podcast host. Great. What are your grandparents' names?
Well, they're all dead.
Yep.
But,
Gonna need
Well, they
all
still
them.
had names.
I mean, they did. You said, what are they? I mean, they're not really anything, but it was Thomas and Gwendolyn on Dad's side.
All right.
And
Studio audience did not like that one.
and on Mum's side, it was Peter and Evelyn.
Well, they thought that was funny. How about
Evelyn's
you, T-Bone?
those all sound made up, by the way.
Yeah,
like
they
he was
sure
just
did.
coming up like
No, I
Evelyn.
haven't.
you thought a lot in between them.
you 45
I
seconds.
genuinely have not. Look, I guarantee I could get my mom to Skype in. Oh wait, this is a massive report. Never mind. No, like that's the first time in literally years that I've actually had to think about what my grandparents' names were.
All right. T-Bone, how about you?
Frank and Hattie.
Holy shit, Hattie.
That is a West
Okay.
Virginia
He is-
special
yes,
right
it
there.
is.
He is the early leader.
Yeah, and then on my dad's side, it is Kenneth and Mildred.
What?
Yeah.
Mildred.
That's old as fuck.
Both, they're like Frankie's gone, but everybody else I just mentioned still alive.
Yeah.
And
Really?
Mildred is 93.
Damn.
And like still goes like shopping every Saturday. But they got divorced.
Respect.
So now
Yeah.
Kenneth is married to Viola.
Ooh.
Vi. Grandma Vi.
Grandma Vi.
Yeah,
Oh,
Grandma Vi.
nice.
So yeah, we got a lot of good ones there.
Awesome. I have no idea why that's playing, but getting down.
That's why they're all living, is because they all
I
do.
was just saying, let's
That's
be
what
real.
happens when the
Grandma
glaucoma-
Vi definitely
yeah.
partakes.
When the glaucoma
Got-
kicks
yeah,
in, I
of
mean, you
course.
got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
Oh, Jonathan, welcome. Would you like to hit this massive fucking split?
I made brownies.
I believe I said split instead of spliff, but that joke was still
did.
very
Like,
funny.
Grandma,
Okay.
why are
Yeah, I
you
did.
watching
That's the word
Viceland all the time now, Grandma? You're on Bong Appetit.
Grandma
What's
won't
going
stop
on?
texting me about Action Bronson's cooking show.
Probably be better for all of us who didn't ask any fucking questions, bitch.
I just made a really great bechamel sauce infused with a strand I grew in the basement.
Honey, dear, grab me those Cheetos from the speaker.
Every night she watches Jesus and Miro and realizes they're all problematic. and that's just,
I could really murder a pack of double stuffed Oreos right now. I don't know about you.
Get me my teeth, Hattie.
There's a band name right there, Hattie's Teeth.
Hattie's
They're
teeth.
playing at the basement. and Ace of Cups. And
Hattie's teeth are going to be on like 102.5 tomorrow.
yeah.
Catch them at Andy
And
Mann's
on-
Treehouse Thursday at 4:30 p.m.
And on the FIFA soundtrack next year.
They can't stay up very late. All right. So, okay, Precourt has the balls to tweet about, just like 1 a.m. What a coward. Like, he waited like 5
Till
hours.
everyone was asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, this will probably go over well. He continues to make terrible choices, 900 responses. Like, no, probably no one will notice this, right?
They haven't been waiting 6 weeks for this opportunity to yell at me.
He's got that one Iraqi general up there doing his press releases for him, going, everything is fine. There's no problem at PSV.
Nothing to see here. Move along, folks.
What a
Whoop,
historic
there he is
playoff.
again. All right, that was the wrong one. What I meant to say
Somebody
was,
just retweeted it, apparently.
now
Has
the
to be read
studio
again.
audience knows. We're doing great with intros.
That was one of my
and outros
favorite
today.
cracking the codes.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was definitely my favorite.
If you just want, we could talk about grandparents like for every
I
cracking
mean,
code.
yeah.
well, we should
Stoner,
start a
Stoner
grand-
Grandparents is
Grandparents podcast. would be
Grandparents
awesome.
Radio.
gonna
I
be
would
a
love
great-
that.
We're going to need a new topic here soon.
That's fine.
Blazers Radio.
Can I give out my man balls, Jonathan? I've been saving them all week. I'm really fucking stoned.
I just left a hot take in my adult diaper.
It's still going to get more upvotes than anything from AGS Attack.
We better hurry up to segment 3. This load is getting kind of cold on me. Goodness gracious.
This is what you waited all year for, Aces listeners.
Yeah. Speaking of man balls, let's go around the table, which is a Latin term for podcast hosts, and get them the fuck out of the way. John Zadar, the wet boy. We start with you. Your 2 man balls of the week,
I'm going to have to give one to Grandma Vi just for that.
A man ball to Grandma Vi.
And the second one to Zach Steffen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sack Steffen.
Sack Steffen.
What a great dude that guy is. Jonathan T-Bone Smith, you can catch him weekdays at 3 o'clock on 97.1 The Fan. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
That's what time it starts.
And and then it ends at 3:02.
3:02,
It's
yeah.
completely off the rails. But
Yes.
my man balls are going to go. I will give one to the illustrious King Greg Berhalter for his tactics in this, basically getting to this point in the playoffs. My other one will go to the assembled national soccer media who helped #SaveTheCrew continue to flourish throughout these playoffs. And now that is also me begging you to please not forget that it exists at this point and keep it going.
Amen. Amen. Well, we can officially get started. Now that we're out of the playoffs, we don't have to worry about games. I mean, dude.
It does take a lot off of the Save the Crew plate.
Yes, it does. Greg Benson, Hollywood racist.
Yeah, first one, I was considering Zach Steffen because that was a hell of a penalty save, but I'm going to give it to Lalas Abubakar because I thought he played decent. I mean, he matched up to Altidore pretty well, except on the goal, which, to be honest, that goal was pretty special. I mean, it was a great
long
move,
bounce
great build up
off of a goal kick that went directly to Sebastian Giovinco magically. I mean,
once
in a
it
dangerous
got
spot.
there, all of the work was still there to do, and the build up and the way that they undid the defense was pretty good.
Hey,
I mean, you'd
sometimes-
expect that from the best team in the league.
Yeah, sometimes Sebastian Giovinco and Josie Altidore just like score goals against people. For it to only happen once in 2 games.
Yeah, but for the task that he was given, I thought Abubakar played very, very well and earned it.
Yeah.
Second man ball is going to be a lady ball again. It's going to go to Sam Kerr of the Matildas, the Australian women's team. She just got named AFC Women's Player of the Year. And scored a bunch of goals in the 2 games against China. I think we beat them like 5-1 in the first one, and then
I saw that.
Yeah, no, you did not.
No, I did not.
You didn't. And it was like 3-0 in the second one or something. And Kerr scored like all of them.
Oh my God, Steve Kerr, he is one of the best.
Yes.
He's got a great mind.
She's one
for
of the
game.
greatest.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he just found himself on teams that won championships. Chicago, San Antonio, that guy's
Golden State.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
Steve Kerr would be a fan of that Grandma Smoking Weed podcast, too.
Yeah,
he believes in the healing powers. He agrees.
Oakland, more like Smokeland.
I like that motherfucker, Steve Kerr. He's a good bitch.
My first man ball is going to go to...
Guys, I got a great idea. Can we do a new version of the Golden Girls with the 4 of us dressed as old women?
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
That sounds good to me.
That'd be a big hit on public access, right?
Hey, speaking of big hits, 1 second.
Oh, shit. You went all in on that one, Gertrude. You're going to choke a motherfucker out if you're not careful.
We'd all just have like lady versions of our names, except Morgan is still Morgan.
Yeah. Can't believe you've done that, Greg.
Let's go hotbox the Oldsmobile.
Oh, shit. Christ. My first man ball of the week goes to B. Arthur from the Golden Girls. He is one of the greatest characters. Second man ball goes to, that's right, Andres Mendoza of Cruisers FC for being possibly the dopest motherfucker in the game today, John.
Literally.
Yeah, that's it. Back
Is
to
he
you.
still in the game today?
In the cocaine game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's still the dopest.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. He's going to get out of prison someday soon with John Clem, federal penitentiary prison, that is, in the state of New York. If you've enjoyed the shitlordery on segment 1, I've got some great news for you. We're coming back on segment 2. Celebrity guest this week, Jonathan T-Bone Smith. You'll know him from the World of Bone podcast. And if you know what that means, you're also making a tragic mistake by paying attention to us here on ACES Radio. We'll be right back. We're going to do... What else are we going to do on segment 3?
More grandma jokes, bro.
More grandma jokes.
All right.
And, yeah.
That's
all
fine,
that.
Greg, because we're coming to
Yeah,
segment
you've done
2.
This is the best outro.
Why would you talk about segment 3? We're clearly talking about segment 2.
I'm going to go get a drink.
John will be back with more booze. You're listening to the Tragic
I'm up
Dumpster
for some
Fire known
Oreos.
as ACES Radio.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Now we blasting off into the ozone. The way we kick it in the dojo is local for show. Though we paving the road that's opposed to the dodo. Going over your head like a top hat. Stop that. I know you hear me spitting these hot raps. Now watch that beat, cause it's about to drop. The Rockets is the 09 jump off. Yeah, yo. Last name Pan, first name Peter. I know you see me playing and you want me to teach you, but I say elevated so that all God screeches can hear me shout it out like my name is Aretha. Getting RESPECT. Fly by, see the looks on your faces. Cause I'm in full EFFECT. Jet setting on a daily basis. David F. Man, you don't stop. David, you won't stop. We came to rock it till the city takes off. Mr. Captain, yeah. I'm an ace pilot, yeah. I want to spin my wings and fly. To all my people in coach, yeah. And to my first class folks, yeah. We'll show you how to scrape the sky. Yeah. As the curvature of the earth takes shape, fly fast forward like a videotape and no cape. Just follow my jet stream, proud in the clouds on the boom in the precinct. I'll have no trampoline, black box in the pocket of my jet jeans. Shine with the stars so bright, even NYC sees me. Get that?
Oh, yeah, baby. Ignorant sluts, shitlord, celebrity fans. John Clem sitting in federal penitentiary prison in the state of New York. You have made a tragic mistake by sticking with us here on ACES Radio from segments 1 to 2. How dare you indeed. Welcome back. Brought to you as always by Blood and Urine. It's episode 71. And it's segment 2, which can mean only one thing, Greg. We have a celebrity guest in our midst.
Segment 2, I'm looking forward to segment 420 myself.
It's that thing we were just doing.
It is.
It's the old guy.
I don't know who that was. He just dropped by for a second.
Is that Walter's grandfather?
Tune into segment 3 to find out, John.
No, God, please no.
If someone could, in the next 45 minutes, drop off an elder raccoon puppet.
Elderly raccoon
yeah, that'd
puppet.
be great.
Or just an elderly raccoon.
We can keep it in Morgan's car.
It'd be like a family reunion.
Walter the Raccoon, everybody. Welcome to the program.
Let
you
me
doing?
smash.
Moving the fuck on.
I never realized that Walter the Raccoon actually was represented in physical
A real
form.
puppet? Oh, really?
I'm really
Oh, you
happy
just
to
thought
know
it was a
that now.
voice.
No, I had no idea. That's great.
The worst part of Walter is that he, in order to do the voice, Greg puts the puppet on first. Like, anytime you hear Walter, Greg has, quickly put on the
I didn't
puppet.
realize
Yeah,
that
that's
until
true.
just now
Yeah.
sitting next to it, and I feel good about it.
Yeah, he does all of, the motions and
Feelings
shit
mutual.
with it, too.
Yeah.
And he puts it
Little
up to the
starstruck
microphone.
right now.
And this is every time. And this is for years now.
Like Greg?
Well, because we have to remind our guests to speak directly into the microphone, and Walter took your advice.
A lot of people are calling Greg the modern day Jim Henson.
No one's saying that.
Jim Benson.
Jim
Why not?
Benson, exactly.
Nope.
I would invite you to children's parties, but then we know how that would go.
Yeah, probably
they
a
would
bad
be,
idea.
They would be
They
dead.
would be
and
killed and
things-
shot on.
yeah,
That's
shit
probably
everywhere.
not a good idea.
Moving right along, Morgan, back to
We
you.
can talk about this for a minute if you want.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right,
No,
okay.
I'm great.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could, welcome to the program from the World of Bone podcast, which is my favorite thing to say. I just love saying that. Jonathan T-Bone Smith.
Oh, thank you for having me.
T-Bone.
Glad to be here.
Smith, welcome to the show.
I have some breaking news on the World of Bone podcast.
Play it.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled Buffalo Bills podcast for this bit of breaking news. We go now live, on scene, to Jonathan T-Bone Smith. Back to you, Jonathan.
The World of Bone podcast tragically has met its demise as of this morning.
Oh, whoops, that's not good.
It was. That's actually fine. It was run over by a very large man in a radio studio who decided he didn't want to do the World of Bone podcast anymore.
Oh,
so
really?
the new podcast coming this winter, January, is called
ACES Radio. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yes,
it's
there
gonna
I
be
am.
great, yeah.
yes, indeed.
Yeah, fuck Massive Report. Failing Massive Report. Sad.
I convinced the people who run our station to let us do a soccer podcast. So
Nice.
myself and a guy named Brandon Beam, who produces one of the other shows on the Fan.
Yeah, friend
we're
of the
gonna
show,
do-
Brandon Bean.
Yes.
Is
We're
it
gonna
Beam?
do Beam.
Oh,
so we're
Beam,
gonna do
okay.
Friend of the show. What's his name?
Yeah.
So we've been kicking around ideas. The name we've come up with so far is Bone and Beam United. But
Oh, my God.
That's
no,
really
no.
bad jokes.
no,
So-
you
If you need a third B, let me know.
hey, The fact that you hate it makes me want to do it. So that may be what it is.
Bone and
Just a
Bean
head up,
United.
if you take Greg, the puppet goes with him.
Exactly.
That's right.
Oh, okay. I'm in favor of this now.
It'd be like Bone, Beam, Benson, like covered in bees. You could just call it that.
The triple
B's.
Any Eddie Izzard fans?
They don't allow bees in here. That's an Arrested Development drop. But anyway,
What's the
Bears beats Battlestar? No, that was a different show.
There's the bees. There they are. No, isn't there an actual bees? There's like a bees song.
Maybe we
there it is.
maybe we listen to all of them to find out.
It's the bees on the track. It's the killer bees. It's the killer bees. It's the killer bees.
This is
And
good.
they're on the motherfucker.
I'd just like to say that there had been zero talk of moving the team to Austin before AGS Attack started writing fucking shitty songs, and then he started writing them, and now the team is about to go.
Pedro. It's Pedro.
Pedro Sench.
And he never scored a
He
goal.
moves to
Scored
Austin.
none of the goals.
He never scored one goal.
Maybe stop singing about shit because you're ruining it.
Yeah, no shit.
Maybe AGS stands for Austin Gonna Snack.
Oh my god.
No, maybe he should write a song about the Austin Ambition FC, and it will just never happen.
That's true.
he could write about the parks in Austin. He could write about their city council, and then all of it will disband. All of
Let's
it will
not
disband.
write his Grammy Award-winning album for him. Calm down.
Moving the fuck on. Jonathan T-Bone Smith, welcome to the program. We're going to start you off with the same question we ask of all of our celebrity guests, and that is, how would crew fans know you?
I am on the radio from 3 to 6 p.m. every day, but nobody listens to that on 97.1 The Fan.
Yeah.
Also, I used to host this teleconference known as Massive Report, the Massive Report podcast.
Sorry, that plays automatically.
The days
okay.
pre-teleconference.
That is pre-teleconference. That is back when we used to do it live.
Yeah.
A la Bill O'Reilly, but not all the Bill O'Reilly, just that doing it live part. Just to clarify.
Just careful.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1 clap. You want to do that?
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, do we need
We'll
a
forget
reset?
that.
We can do a reset if you
No,
want.
it's
This is international soccer celebrity Chris Doran, and you're listening to ACES Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here on ACES Radio.
Keeping it organic.
Hashtag hands on Stanek.
That's Hashtag war on the hands on Stanek. So let's get this out of the way. Where are you from? You
I
were
am from
talking
here.
earlier about a holler down in West Virginia.
Yeah, that's my my grandparents on my mom's side came up from Crum, West Virginia.
Of course.
CRUM.
Of course.
No B.
Like Jimmy Crumb.
Yes, with the plaid sports jacket.
Absolutely.
So I grew up here watching Jimmy Crumb on local television and Dom Taberi and
The legend, John.
every other sportscast you can think of. But yeah, I grew up here.
And you were like, this has to be improved. Let me go into this career.
No, that is not at all what I backed into that career. But no, so I grew up here and lived here my whole life. I did work in Dayton briefly for a year, but I commuted. So that was a dumb idea. Don't ever do
You were like,
that.
how can I make being in Dayton worse? Let me drive there an hour every day and then back an hour. Yeah,
That's right. Yes, it was a terrible idea. But
let's ask the Cincinnati question. This is what people in Cincinnati ask each other. Like, first and foremost, what high school did you go to?
Oh, yeah. I went to a high school no one will really know. I went to Liberty Christian Academy, which my graduating class, it was in Whitehall.
Okay.
It's since moved out to Pataskala, but it had 32 kids in its senior class my year. Yes, so a tiny little religious school.
Did Anthony Precourt own that school as well?
I
He
wish.
moved it?
No, I wish he would have moved it. And but now I think the building where it is called Patriot Prep. And no joke, the school motto is "Get her done."
Oh my fucking God!
So it's
so it went from being what, Liberty Christian to Patriot Prep. It's only like a Freedom Independence Eagle away from being like a conservative website.
We were the Liberty Christian Academy Eagle.
Of course you
Yeah,
were.
there you go.
Everything about
Absolutely.
this gives me a non-erection. I've never been more flaccid.
An
in my
inverted
life.
boner.
Yes, it's going inside. This is not comfortable, John. It's like being on a Noron tour bus. Love it. So you grows up in Columbus, and you're one of the top sports fan lads in the game at that point. So what were your teams growing up? Were you a soccer guy? This was in the long time ago, the before times.
Yeah, I was not a soccer guy most of my childhood, which would have been I grew up, in the 90s, so I watched a lot of Buckeyes losing to Michigan, and that formed my hatred for the state up north.
Fuck them, that's why.
Yeah.
That happened?
Yeah.
That predates me moving to America.
Oh.
so
You didn't live
so
here,
I
yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Like anything that happened in college sports pre-2004, I have absolutely no
Have
idea.
you ever
'cause
heard
I've
of the numbers 2, 10, and also 1?
I've heard of those numbers. I don't know them in context.
That was the
I'm
record.
guessing that was John Cooper's record.
It was.
Which I only had to retroactively learn about again
And
because
the
college
one,
sports not
according
a thing
to
in Australia.
Gordon Gee, was one of the best victories in Ohio State history. That's how awful that era was.
A 10-10 tie.
Yes.
Best
wow.
victory.
It was
Yes.
horrible. Thanks, Bobby Hoying.
Yeah, so I grew up here. I went to, as much as I could, Columbus Horizon games back in the day, if you remember that.
Of course I do, because it was marketed as the continuation of the Buckeyes. It was like Chris Jent and Jay Burson.
Exactly.
Like,
they just brought them over to the convention center.
you like the Buckeyes? This is the Buckeyes.
Exactly. The not quite pro version of
Right.
the Buckeyes, but kind of. They pay them something.
What about the
So,
Quest?
Yeah, went to a couple Quest games. Went like all that, Clippers, like
Yeah.
whatever we had.
Yes.
So then when the crew came in, I didn't know much about soccer, but my family, none of that. Like my brother played a little soccer.
Yeah.
He was younger than me. Still is. It's not like he's like gone. He is younger
He's
than me.
aged rapidly since.
Yes. So we went to games, but I didn't know what I was watching. So I went to a couple games in Ohio Stadium, went to a few games the inaugural season in Crew Stadium, Moffrey Stadium, but I didn't know what I was watching. I just kind of was there like I would have been for any other sport, just enjoying it, rooting for the home team. 2002, that was the World Cup viewing parties that were infamous there at the stadium in the white tent, which is now off limits unless you're a VIP. But that's where I watched with buddies. We were all like college age,
Drunk as shit.
Yeah, and like we
I
went
was
in
right there with you in
That's-
that exact tent, being drunk as shit.
Isn't that so weird? I was in that tent too.
That's what I'm saying. Is like I've run into so many people where it's like we kind of would have known each other if we had like looked across the room and been like, oh yeah, I'm going to know that guy 15 years from now.
If there were Twitter then, or
right, exactly,
we all would have been friends at that point.
Exactly right.
It would have just happened.
It's crazy to think about that. So yeah, so that was where I kind of started watching soccer like a soccer fan.
Yeah.
Where we would go to matches that were not the USA matches, although we were at those too. And me and like 3 or 4 of my buddies from high school, we'd go there and watch like, I don't know, Ghana. I don't even know if Ghana was in there, but if Ghana was there, there were like 100 guys from Ghana. And I had no idea that there were that many fans of a particular country that were willing to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and watch these games. And so that's where I kind of started realizing, oh yes, when they,
Soccer's cool.
Well, not just that, but like when they pass the ball and you can see it just almost gets there, but the defender gets there and knocks it away. And then they would get all like, it was like as if a guy had blown a last-minute shot in a basketball game. They're just like, oh, no. And I'm like, oh, that's where you're supposed to react.
That's the excitement.
That's
There
the
it is.
And so that's what I've always told people. It's like you have to watch it. If you don't know soccer, watch it with a soccer fan, and you'll just learn by watching their reactions.
Yeah.
You'll know when,
So then I was hooked after that.
I love that answer because that's exactly my answer. When people say, how'd you get in the crew? I'm like, well, I just like Columbus everything.
Yeah.
Especially when we were that age. I also grew up in the 90s. Like, the 94 World Cup, I was 13. 1996, I was 15. Like, those are those prime, if you're a girl, if you're a boy, if you're breathing and you're 14, like, you probably like sports and your hometown's getting a new team.
Yep.
Fuck yeah, you're going to go.
Exactly right.
You're going to go. So, but you're also a Cleveland sports fan.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't miserable enough going to, Eagle Talon, high school that Anthony
Ravenclaw
Precourt
High
moved.
School?
Ravenclaws, John. Be careful. Don't comb your hair in front of me.
I know. I don't want you to throw your claws at me.
That's how we fight at Ravenclaw's house. But you chose Cleveland because you hate yourself.
Yeah, that was a poor choice.
Yeah.
But I've stuck with it. Browns fan. But that was always secondary. Like Ohio State was my
Well, it has to be,
team
otherwise
growing
you'd
up.
be dead.
Right. Yes. The only other sports affiliations, root for the Cavs. I root for the Indians when not in conflict with my actual baseball team.
The Mets.
My dad is from New York or New Jersey, so that's where Mildred resides. Is in New Jersey. And so he became a Mets fan. That's the one team he kind of carried.
Is she a Mets fan? Is she one of those old ladies you see on TV at the game that's like, I've been coming for 92 years.
No, but she
I
was
eat 4 hot dogs still to this day.
And then she goes to a baseball game. Chris Dorn.
No, she took a massive rip off of a giant bong, and then, but she actually she took my dad and his 3 siblings to Shea Stadium, like as a single mom, because dad had his dad had left at that point, Took him to Shea Stadium game and like did all that for them. So that's kind of sports in our family's always been kind of important.
Respect,
So
Mildred.
That's
she's
first
a
of
good
all,
girl.
mad respect in all caps with a K on
yeah,
it.
no, yeah.
As if Dom Tiberi were spelling it.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
There is something a little special about like having a parent or a grandparent that gets you into something like that.
Yeah, your
like
mom
that
and dad and your grandparents dictate what you become as a sports fan.
Right. I mean, that's
if they don't care.
That's why I'm a Crew fan.
This is a story.
My family didn't do sports until the Crew came along. They still don't.
It's a story
other
that
than
I've
the Crew, but yeah.
It's a story that I've repeated several times to a lot of people that I know about. How I came to follow some of the American sports teams that I do because when you're not from the States, like you don't have a hometown here, there's no real organic reason to follow any one particular team. So, having a dad who went to the States a lot on business, whatever cities that he went to and happened to come back with stuff, if, that's why I'm a Chicago Bears fan. That's why I'm a Houston Rockets fan. And, sort of became an Astros fan out of that connection. And, it's weird. Like these teams that you never would have picked on your own or that you have no idea whether or not it would have happened that way.
Yeah. My dad went on a business trip to San Diego one time when I was 12, and he brought back a Padres shirt that said Padres Catch the Fever. Nice. And he was like, I literally just got that for you because it was San Diego. Yeah. Don't root for the Padres. Instantly it was like, don't do that. Like that's fine. You like Tony Gwynn. Don't root for them.
My dad had a habit of going to places where the teams or the local teams would win something almost immediately after he got back. Like when he brought back the Bears hat for me when I was 6 years old, they went on to win the Super Bowl 2 months later. Same with the Houston Rockets, and it was just kind of strange. I wish he'd take more trips to places that.
Has your dad been to Crew Stadium?
I was gonna say, yeah. Right. He doesn't travel much these days, unfortunately. But
I think Columbus is a weird city, an interesting city from a sports perspective. In that obviously Ohio State controls our lives, and it starts when you're born.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm not saying that in a defeatist way because I'm a gigantic Ohio State fan. Fuck Michigan. Fuck them forever. And fuck them, because they deserve it.
Co-signed, by the way.
Yeah, totally. But so the guys that I grew up with, we were all Columbus sports fans, fucking everything. But we all had weird NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL affiliations, and nothing ever intersected.
Oh yeah, right. I had buddies that was why I picked the Browns, which is I had more buddies that were their dads were from Cleveland and they were Browns fans, and the one kid who was a Bengals fan was annoying, so I was like, screw him, I'm a Browns fan.
I guess you're right. There are people that pick Cleveland or Cincinnati.
Yeah, there's that, but then otherwise, there's just I have buddies that were Cowboys fans and buddies that were
those are pieces of shit is what you call those guys, because I also had those friends that were Yankees and Cowboys fans.
They're called LeBron James.
Exactly.
You're right. I know him too.
Yeah, right. I mean, at least
but that's what he did. Yeah,
he did, and he's an Ohio State fan, so we have a lot in common with him.
Exactly right.
Okay.
But the going back to that real quick is that was the thing with the chill. I had the chill. I went to chill games. My parents were very religious. They would cover my ears for all the horrible stuff the fans would say. But then when the Jackets came, that was how I knew anything about hockey, was because we went to anything that was Columbus related. Not a lot, but we went. We went to Ameriflora in '92.
Fuck yeah, Ameriflora. Fuck
I'm just saying, if it was in Columbus, we were going to it because it's a thing.
I performed at Ameriflora.
Oh God!
I performed as a young lad.
Can you explain to me and maybe some of the uninitiated what Ameriflora
It was a
is?
giant flower festival.
Were you a sailor?
I guess I could have. I guess I could have inferred that from the name.
I have nothing else to add to that. It was just a giant flower festival.
That's right. Exactly.
In 1992.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah,
I learned something about Columbus today. Huh.
Yeah. The Cracker Jack Company hired the performing troupe that I was in to unveil their toffee flavored Cracker Jack. It was
God!
They'd never come out with a different flavor of Cracker Jack.
What were you?
I was dressed in the most horrific.
You a baker?
No, we were all in old timey baseball uniforms, and we sang songs about Joe DiMaggio, and oh my God, it was.
I pictured a sailor suit somehow.
Pam, you have my number. Text me the photos.
No, don't do that, Pam. Pam is a slut. She will send John the most horrid, embarrassing pictures of me, and just
that's great.
I'll be fucking with John on text messages hey, I'll send him a picture that I have the one embarrassing picture, and he'll send me 17 pictures in me in a Macbeth play. Oh, it's dressed as Henry V. I'm oh no, I'm wearing makeup in that one. Ew. Anyway, so okay, you kind of answered that you got into the Crew just because there's a Columbus sports thing, but maybe you ran into the same problem I had, at least in the early years, was none of my friends cared about it like
Right,
I did.
yeah.
So they'd be like, oh, yeah, well, they'd come to like a game of summer, but like every fucking week was like convincing 3 people to come with me or just like anybody to come with, trying to like date a girl that cares about it. And it just like, did you run into that?
Yeah, and so that was kind of cool. Was at the first radio station where I worked was 88.7 Radio U, WUFM, if they're still on, if you'd like to listen to them.
Of course.
Christian station. I grew up very religious.
Yeah.
But had some buddies there who, it was like one day we were all sitting around and it dawned on us somewhere in like, I don't know, 2004 or 5, somewhere around there. Like, we all have jobs now. We all have free time. We were all, at that point, mostly single or maybe dating someone. Let's go to crew games like a lot. Let's not just go like when you're in high school and you realize, oh wait, I can just go do my own stuff now. This was after high school, but that's kind of where it hit us. Like, oh yeah, we could just go. And
when you first have like a little bit of disposable income.
Yes, and so that's where
and the weekends off.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had like real jobs and time off, and so we started going to crew games, and that led to season tickets, and that led to me sitting behind the goal. In 2006, I had season tickets back there, and I saw these like 8 or 10 guys that would all show up, Grant and Sean and John and like a million other guys now that are all the guys who started Hudson Street Hooligans, and they were like literally, we just kind of came up with this idea, Hudson Street Hooligans, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, we go to Ruby Tuesday, and I'm like, the restaurant? They're like, no, there's a bar and
Burger joint.
And then so from there, it's just like, let's go there. We hung out there all the time. And then that was where I fully got hooked.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. Now I'm fully vested
I was
in this.
really interested in this, but the pea-soaked basement of Ruby Tuesdays sold me.
Yeah. Well, but it was ours. That was it was like, oh, wait
it
a
was
second.
our pea we were standing in.
Yes, exactly.
They let us paint the wall.
Yeah. So like that whole thing kind of is what got me to say, oh, so then of course we know how that all went with the Nordeca and everything else. But yeah, that was where I finally got it. That was the first sports team. So the Crew are the first sports team I ever invested my money, my time for like seasons at a time. I watched football, I watched basketball and everything else, but I didn't have the money when I was a kid to like go to these games. This was the first thing it could have been the Clippers, could have been anything, but
yeah,
I went to the Crew.
Yeah,
So.
well, the Clippers are playing at the urine-soaked filth trap that was Cooper
Ruby
Stadium.
Tuesday?
Oh, yeah. It was Cooper Stadium, sponsored by Ruby Tuesday.
That's right. It's the stadium of Ruby Tuesdays. Like, if there's going to be a stadium that's like Ruby Tuesday, it was the Coop for sure.
Right.
So you go and you get these lads and your friends, and you're upping them. You're in the south stands, or the north stands rather, and you're early days of HSH. You're wading through puddles of urine in the basement of Ruby Tuesday,
illegally crossing railroad tracks, all of it.
Yeah, cross the tracks, and you says to yourself, I am not thought of lowly enough yet. So you decide to get on a little program called the Massive Report podcast.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Sorry, that plays automatically.
What the
That's
fuck
fine.
is Alex pounding on the door for? He can just slide it open and he's knocking on it.
If he weren't Jamaican, why would he wear that hat? So, you talk about the early days of Massive Report, what that was like, why you guys started it, and what the hell you've done to the world.
Bob Stein was the guy who founded the MassiveReport.com. He was like a stringer for the AP, and he teaches down at Columbus State. He's an English teacher, journalism teacher. And so he had all this ability to just like cover games. He thought, why don't I do this for myself instead of for the AP? So he hired some writers. He asked us to volunteer our time. I don't want anybody to get the delusional idea that we were all making money. But so then I wrote for them for a little bit, and then he said, or I came to them and said, I used to do a podcast in my house. NationalSoccerRadio.com is what I used to have. And I did that for a couple of years, and it was just a fun little project. But that taught me how to kind of do some of the editing, as you know, all the stuff you got to do at the end to make it all get on the air.
Carried away here. He doesn't do any of that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, fair enough, yeah. But the getting it online and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, I think I could set that up. And so they said, yeah, if you think people would listen. I'm like, I think we could get some people to listen. So
what year was this?
I'm trying to think of when I was working. It was the year after Massive Report became a thing. So I'm going to guess that was somewhere in 2009, 2010, somewhere
It was
around
post-championship.
Yeah, it was after the championship. So anyway, so that kind of got formed, and then I'm trying to think because we had Sam Fahmy, who obviously still does a lot with them, but Sam was kind of he made it all work. He put everything together. He brought all the equipment. He set it up, tore it down. Bob was on those podcasts. Chris Lamacchia was on those podcasts. Matt Goshert was on those podcasts for a lot of them. So, yeah, we had a good little – and Patrick Golden, of course, who writes for them. So, a lot of guys.
When he wasn't picking out new ties.
Yeah. He doesn't know shit about tie clips.
Yeah, but all those guys made the podcast. I was just kind of there to be the glue and kind of just get it on the air and off the air, and they did all the work.
Talk to us about the National Soccer Hall of Fame podcast.
Oh, it was National Soccer Radio.
Oh,
of course. That's what I call it. Yeah.
Right.
And the National Soccer Hall of Fame, which doesn't exist. Or exists in a warehouse somewhere. That was just something.
I can't believe you just called Toyota Park a warehouse somewhere. It's in Frisco, Texas.
That's fair.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I forgot they put it there. That's right.
That's a completely unbiased. That's a completely fair analysis.
We're talking about how the existence of that is probably the only reason that Dallas isn't moving.
Give it a minute, John.
True enough.
I mean, those business
like
metrics
we
are
should
going
have.
to look
Why
real
didn't we
bad.
build that here?
Yeah, no kidding. We should have.
Oh wait, we did. It's called
we did.
The Legacy
It's
of
called
Dos
the
Acero.
entire fucking stadium.
It's called everything that's in that stupid museum.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. Now, National Soccer Radio was an idea I had, and so I just started doing it once a week. A guy from CBS Radio in New York, no kidding, heard it, and they had a digital channel, like a stream that he wanted to put it on, and it would be like free publicity for me, free content for them. So I said, yeah.
No shit.
And so this guy ended up he's like a producer at 1010 Wins in New York. I mean, he's got a nice little title and everything. Ivan is his name. And so I started putting Ivan on my resume, and that and the Massive Report thing got me the job in Dayton, which got me a sports radio gig, an official sports radio job. And then that's what helped me get to the Fan.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about that timeline. So did you in any way identify sports talk as like earlier in life, like I want to talk about sports for a living?
Yeah, I used to listen to, like, my mom always had talk radio on. My dad always had talk radio on, sports talk radio too. So I grew up listening to Paul Harvey on the way to school, like the rest of the story, all that stuff. Yeah. And so I thought that would be cool to do. But then I got into music radio, the Christian radio station.
Oh God, how embarrassing!
Yeah, it was 7 seconds of all right, coming up, guys. Hey, don't forget to say your prayers and BOD. All right, like I mean, that was literally 5 hours of that. And I used to.
It sounds like an oft-repeated line.
Oh, I'm not kidding. Radio, you where music is going was the line. Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna vomit.
So
up next, the confessional hour. You call in with your sins, and we absolve you.
Oh, dude, God, we had to do pledge drives. And again, like, by the way, I'm not knocking religion. I know
Greg and I
Greg
do
is,
that,
but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I got a little burnout on stuff there, but like
on stuff.
All right, Grandma Vi, calm down.
I got a little burnout on stuff.
But that experience was weird because the owners of that station had a ton of money, including, like, to the point they had private jets.
No
like
way,
they were.
I don't believe
he was
it.
like a developer,
Are you
and
kidding me?
he did a whole bunch of other stuff, and this was like his project he cared about, and he would just. So he flew us to, like, little conferences for, like, Christian radio where there were 20 people going.
Nice.
We flew on a private jet to, like, Orlando one time. Like, this guy, it was a surreal experience because I was making no money talking about bands no one had ever heard of, and we got to fly on private jets like we were some big shots.
Wow. How many times an hour did you have to play Jars of Clay?
Oh.
In DC Talk.
They were a rotation, my friend.
Oh, man.
DC Talk, Jesus Freak is still an underrated album, let me tell you.
Oh, is that right?
No. But anyway, yeah. So literally, like, a surreal way to get into radio. I would not recommend this path for anybody else.
Yeah.
It just so happened that I, like, literally walked in off the street there and got a job, and from there I kept parlaying my little experience to more things, and I used some of the editing experience I learned to do the stuff at home with the podcast, and then that led to.
Well, I feel like if anybody's really honest with themselves, it's a lot of kind of like falling ass backwards into something to get where you're at. Nobody graduates from high school and, like, Bank One's like, we'd like to hire you as our top executive.
But that's that's almost like what they tell people.
Yeah, yeah.
You go to college, you'll get your 4-year degree, or whatever, 6 now, and then you get out, and then your pathway will be in front of you, and it's like, nope.
Yeah.
You will have to probably do a bunch of stuff that seems backwards.
Yep.
But eventually, if you just keep plodding around, hopefully something, and there's a ton of luck involved too. I'm not denying that by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
It's a lot of random luck. But yeah, so all those little random experiences led to the soccer podcast, which led to a career in sports radio. So
I remember thinking, and it was a big deal when you got to 97.1, and you were.
I did too, for what it's worth.
I mean,
I was shocked.
It was like one of us. I was like, "Whoa, shit! He's on Common Man and Torg."
Yeah,
I know. I
Is that
remember.
what you started on, or was
that
it
was the
another
fun?
show?
No, it was. That was the funniest thing on that. I posted that on Facebook, like, "Hey, I'm going to be the producer on Common Man and Torg's show."
Yeah,
and I had posted like at that point pictures of my daughter, like when she was born, maybe like 50 or 60 likes.
Yeah,
75, whatever. This got like 300, like the most likes of anything I'd ever had, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah,
and it was like pastors that I grew up with, and like all these religious people that were like, "We love that show," and I'm like, "You do?
Nice.
It's I didn't know you liked that." So that was
Yeah.
great. Like I had no idea how big their reach was, and then obviously the stuff that happened with Torg was terrible. It sucked. It was, awful for that to happen. But
fuck Desmond Howard on a completely unrelated note, by the way.
yeah, well, yeah, I can't comment, but
Yeah.
sure, whatever you want to say there.
I'll edit that part out.
No, you won't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just gonna clap
There it
a
is.
few more times.
I got it.
Anyway, but yeah, so that and then that situation happened, and again, falling ass backward into it.
Yeah. Well,
but
you killed it, by the way. I
Well-
mean, like that show is at one time. I know it was rated as like the most listened to or the highest ratings of any sports talk show in the country.
Yeah, for a while we had ratings that were at of all the sports stations, it was up there. It's as one of the best rated shows in the country. Still is. Still,
Yeah.
we get good numbers. But
It's
yeah.
tough to go into that spot, man. Like Common Man
I didn't
and
want
Torg
to.
was a thing.
I didn't want to.
I bet.
They like asked me to do it, and I was like, "Can we get like someone else to be the sacrificial lamb?"
Yeah.
And then after a year or so, I'll move
Yeah.
up there. And they were like, "No, you got to do it." So,
And you've been extremely good at it, and you've
Oh, well,
killed
thanks.
it. And nobody really the rebound relationship never works out. It
No.
never fucking works out. Except you killed it so
Well-
hard that now you're becoming this institution. And what a good fucking time for that to happen, because you've been a huge voice of support for the Save the Crew movement in Columbus, and I got to commend you for that.
well, like I've told people this a bunch of times that. Thank you
There it
to the
is.
peanut gallery.
To the audience.
I was a Crew fan, like I just laid out for you, way before I got into radio. Or, well, I mean, I was a Crew fan working in radio, but I had that growing up kind of thing. And then when I got hooked into it, it hooked hard.
Yeah.
And I couldn't let that go. And then that was well before I got into sports radio, well before any of that. So, yeah, why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? It's just like any of you guys with your talents and the stuff you guys know how to do.
Thank you.
Why wouldn't you?
I knew as soon as you said that was a mistake.
Feels good
I
to be
said
recognized.
any of you.
It was
But
either
why-
going to be that or just incredulous. Wait, what talent? What?
Hashtag blessed. Hashtag blessed.
Bless up.
Yeah, bless
Yeah,
up.
hashtag bless up.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Is anybody would? I mean, look at all the Save the Crew Slack that has 1 million people in it now who are all insanely talented.
Yeah.
I sometimes just sit there it's almost like spectating, just like,
Yeah.
wow, look at all these great people go. I should do something, and I'm amazed by what you guys are doing.
I
So
feel very small every time I'm in any of those channels where I'm like, I'm not as good at this, and it's not even close.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I thought I was really good at all of those things, and then I go in there, I'm like, fuck, everybody I know is better than me at this.
Or when you have the idea and you're like, what would be good is if someone, and then you realize, they've already
Yeah.
been discussing that for like 12
Right.
hours, and 3 drafts have been done, and it's
live on
actually
the
already
website.
Yeah, it's already out there. It's
Zidar's
good.
already managed that project.
Yeah. No, John, you've done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got to give it up to John Zidar. Nope, everyone hates him.
I only know half of what you're talking about because I was just on Slack.
Hey, hashtag blessed. That's all we were talking about. So I remember, speaking of Goshert, I remember the year that Orlando City came to MLS, which was, I remind everybody as always that was once an Austin soccer franchise they couldn't support. They like the second week of the season.
Burn.
Yeah. The second week.
No, that's Dallas.
I
I can't believe you've done this.
Oh, that's great, guys. The door's over there. Don't hit you on the way out.
Yeah, go for it.
Me and John will take over.
So Massive Report gets this email, like the podcast gets an email direct. Greg, maybe you remember this, and it's like from the mainland or whatever it's called, myshopify.com, Iron Lion.
Yeah,
Firm,
the mainland,
something. Yeah.
MANE.
Oh, yes.
And
okay.
they've done like one episode, of their podcast, and they emailed Massive Report and said, "Hey, we really want to start making money at this. So, like, how do you do that?"
Right.
I was like, "What? They asked you that? Like, why did they think that Massive Report podcast makes money?"
We're still waiting to find out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's if you let us know,
Right.
please. No,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the misunderstood part of not just this podcast or Massive Report or any of the 90% of the soccer journalism websites, podcasts out there. They're either not making money, they're just a project of love, or it's like Sports Illustrated Planet Football. That those guys are already paid to do what they're doing, and they're just like, hey, why don't we throw this in?
Yeah.
Like,
we need extra content. Why don't you guys talk in front of an iPhone for 20 minutes?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, the business of media is obviously changing in a good way to where there's so much more accessibility. This setup would not have been possible when I started in radio. Like, what ACES radio would not have been possible when I started. And that's some guys in the business think that's a bad thing.
Everybody
I think
loves
it's
ACES radio.
I think it's the best thing
Yeah.
that there's. Like, I hope A, that the crew are here long enough for this to develop, and B, I hope that there are 20 crew podcasts that everybody can just kind of pick and choose. Like, oh, you want tactics and coaching discussion, and there you go. There's a 2-hour podcast that the Staniks do or whatever.
Yeah, podcast for Columbus.
No, you know what I'm saying.
Oh, did you say Stanek specific podcast? Oh gosh, fuck me.
But I hope, like I'm saying, that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
I've always said it. Since I went on Massive Report, and Greg and I have talked about it. Goshert and I have talked about it. Zadar and I have talked about it. Like this. Somebody asked me that in my Reddit AMA. They're like, do you really hate Alex Stanek? I'm like, no, don't fucking listen to anything any of us say on any of these shows. And we don't care that there are 12 other soccer podcasts in Columbus. We want there to be 1,200 because that means that the market is there to consume it, and that means that the sport is being successful.
Right.
So my question was going to be, the mainland was basically asking us how to be professional radio people. And it's like, first of all, why the fuck would you email the Massive Report about that?
Right. Everybody knows that you Skype in and ask.
That's right. Freeconferencecallreport.com. Yeah. Just record it. Yeah. Record it on Wave. Your Wave
3,
thing.
Of course, this was.
1.
Yeah. Because this was pre-conference call days,
Right.
though. I mean, it
Right.
was when
It's
we
a
were
fax machine.
It was when we were sitting around a corner table and at Hendocks, like real pros.
Oh yeah, the first test
Hold on,
podcast.
I'm trying to check this. Give me a second.
All right, John, go ahead. Is it true?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic.
There was a bit of a delay on the
Well,
line.
it was still it was it's done printing, but it was like still coming out.
He had to uncurl the old fax.
Right.
Someone could look at you though and go, "Hey, Smitty did the he went from doing a podcast to being on one of the best soccer or sports talk radio shows in the country."
Yeah,
and to them you would say what?
I would say that
Suck it.
Hashtag Degeneration X. Hashtag China. Rest in peace. No, honestly, that's
Is that a
possible.
wrestling?
It's a wrestling
Oh,
reference.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
get out
You
of
said
here!
hashtag
I thought we
suck
were
it.
making fun of the Staniks.
Oh. No, but I would say yes, possible for sure. You have to, though, learn about this. And, again, I'm really not trying to make Morgan's head gigantic.
Thank you. Whatever you're about to say is the best.
This is like a setup. This is a real setup for a podcast. So good. I love seeing this because this is the way it should be done.
Yeah.
So
Do you like
that's-
how I've tangled up all of the wires? Though?
Yes,
Isn't
that's
that great?
that is every radio studio I've ever been in.
Does the channel
Hashtag
2
black.
suck in your station? In your
We don't have it. We actually have turned it off permanently.
Why would you
Very
do that?
nice.
Exactly.
Well, because they learned by watching us. John.
It's a radio tradition. It's actually
Everyone turns off channel 2.
Yeah.
No, but to that point about making money or doing that as a way to get into the other things, absolutely. But it's all based on do you nerd out on this stuff? Like the guy who loves graphic design, do you nerd out on that? Do you sit around and just, hey, I'm bored, let me just make something?
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people in radio got their
called
start. Yeah, exactly, right. No, but that's what I'm saying is that's graphic design. And so you're learning the thing, the things to do, and you're just honing it.
Yeah.
That's what a podcast can be for a radio guy. That's what, name your, a blog can be for a writer, anything like that. It
The
certainly
rest stop can be for Josephine's mom.
Oh yeah. John. I'm in. Let's do it.
She's really honing those skills.
She's a whore.
We were talking earlier about how you have to fall ass backwards into things. Let me tell you.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it falling as more controlled leverage.
Well, it's more of a back and forth motion.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do have to fall.
She falls, she gets up. She falls, she gets up.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Yes.
So so all this to say, and I love that message because we talk about it a lot. Is that just try shit.
Yeah.
The thing that happens in crew fandom a lot, and I don't want to make it a bad thing. People go, you know what we should do? And it's like, oh, you know what you should do?
Yeah.
What you just said. Like,
Stop right there.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Do
hear
it.
about it.
Just make it, and you never know, man. You might be fucking good at it.
No, to apply that to the Save the Crew movement, I mean, I've been guilty of doing this too sometimes where I'm like, well, should I start doing this if someone else is going to do it? It's like, you know what, just do it, and if it exists somewhere else, then you can merge them or you can
Amy
whatever.
Bernhardt will let you know.
Right.
Yeah. That list is already live. Yeah.
But that's my point. It's just if you can, anything you can do it. So when it comes to Save the Crew, you can just, if you've got something that you do well, business contacts, even if you're not in the Save the Crew group or if you're not in the, like, you can still do something wherever you are.
And we can always add you.
Exactly right. That's
Well, talk to us about Save the Crew, how you got involved, why it was important, and why I'm doing a great job.
Everybody is doing a fantastic job.
Awesome. Thank you, T-Bone. This has been great.
But Tom, actually, who started the website, who bought the web domain, right?
Yeah.
He had reached out to me and I think a few other people and said, hey, I bought this domain. What should I do?
Oh,
And then-
really?
Yeah, but I had I know that you guys had already talked too, and I said, talk to Morgan because I think he's already doing something, and we had talked at Hendox the night before.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of it, and then he I don't know, a couple days later was like, hey, do you want to be involved? And I was like, well, I don't know what I could do because I just talk. Do you have a microphone to talk into? That's kind of my special. That's the only thing I know how to do. And then he said, well, can you help out in any way? And I said, I'll try. And so so he kind of brought me back in after I was just like, you're going to go do your thing. So that was nice of him. I appreciated that.
Yeah. No.
You hear that, Tom? It's the only good thing you've ever done.
Yeah. No. Nobody knows anything else that Tom's done that's been good.
Now get back to work.
Yeah. Go to savethecrew.com/numbers, which should be updated automatically. We'll see if
Do
that's
not
true.
go to that.
Don't go to that?
No.
Why?
It's not true. He just told you that yesterday.
Yeah, but if I make people go there, he'll have to fix it. Tom, great news. Everyone's going to /numbers.
I heard that's how the internet works, is you just type it into a search bar and eventually it becomes a
Right,
website.
it's a thing.
There's nothing behind it. No one has to do any work. It
You
just
ask
kind of
Jeeves.
shows up.
Jesus
he
Christ!
makes
I
it.
had this conversation with my mother and
Did
my
you really?
grandparents at Thanksgiving. Yeah, I was there. A
too
literal
high.
question that was asked was, "Where is it?" And me and my uncle went, "What?" And they went, "The
Their
internet."
website.
And then we went, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Who puts it all up there?"
If that's not the moment that tips you off that your grandparents are stoners, I don't know what is.
You remember the episode that we
That's
did
a
where,
Hits Blunt meme, if ever there was one.
where my dad texted me in the middle of it, and he's like, what's the web address for your blog? I was like, no, I don't have one. He's like, shut the fuck up. Your blog with your friends. I'm like, are you talking about the podcast? Every step of the way, he got more upset that he's stupid.
And that's how they laugh when we ask them, hey, what is this thing you call Social Security that's going to be gone?
Right. Baby boomers are terrible. They've ruined this world.
How do house
That's not
loans
even a
work?
joke. Yeah. Okay, I think we've established that you're one of the most respected lads in Columbus.
That's totally not true,
Everyone
but
says
that's
that.
fine.
They said that guy is so full of himself. I can't believe
That's
he
true.
killed the Torg.
Yes, I did.
Unbelievable.
Heard of him.
I went on Torg and it's Wags and Elliot, whatever.
Torg and Elliot, yeah.
Torg and Elliot the other day. And
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That was an experience.
There's Torg's he's the same person.
Yes.
Off the air, on the air, whatever you hear him say, that's when we're in a
He's
restaurant.
like a Frankie Hayduck.
Yeah, like
Oh, Jesus.
exactly. No,
Yeah.
like Force of Nature. Mike and Torg had Frankie on one time when I was
Christ.
their producer, and they were asking me like, "What do you think of having Frankie Hayduck on?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be a good idea. He can talk." And then he talked for 15 minutes. I think they asked him 3 questions.
Oh.
And it was like a 15-minute interview. And they were like, they were losing their minds laughing. It was great.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
a fun time. But
But then you had to do a 7.5-minute commercial break.
yes, and that everybody left after that. So.
Can I complain about Sports Talk Radio real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
So
by all means. I don't defend the medium, by the way. I work in it, but it has its issues. So.
Yeah, dude, I hate casters more than anyone in the world. Believe me. So, like, Mike and Mike, and I know that, maybe it's a dated reference since they literally just went off the air, but,
Dead.
you listen to Mike and Mike, and for 60 minutes, there's, 7 minutes of content. And the rest is just, Mike reminding you that they're brought to you by Subway,
Yep.
and then going to commercial. And then, but you guys, it's, of 60 minutes, it's, 47 minutes of content.
Yeah.
And it's just, it'd be one thing if it was, 47 versus, 42. But it's 6 versus 47. What the fuck?
That's largely due to the fact they're a TV product too, or they were. So I think that's part of it. But Yeah, commercials suck, but they suck, but they're necessary. Like that's the other people bring that up sometimes. Like you guys should be more like the newspapers. The newspapers are there to. It's like
no, they're not.
Hey,
do you never look at the last 10 pages of the newspaper?
Well, it's like the newspapers existed to sell advertising, and they thought, what will get people to read this? Oh, I know. Someone
Current
died.
events.
Let's put the guy who died in your neighborhood on page 1.
Police beat.
Right. So that's why all that exists.
Literally?
So yeah,
What?
our entire medium exists to sell ads. That's so some people have realized the best way to do that is to moderate the ads and have a lot of content around it, and then your ads are impactful.
Yeah.
Other people are like, let's throw everything at them and have 5 minutes of content.
Yeah.
So in between there is, I think, a happy medium.
That hot take was brought to you by Lindsay Honda. Absolutely.
If you want me to do a live read for Blood and Urine, I can absolutely.
God.
If we have some.
I didn't write any copy
don't have
today,
copy,
but I'll
no.
get on Slack.
Hi,
and
I'm
have somebody
T-Bone
do it.
for Blood and Urine. Are you a human? Do you have urine? Do you have blood? Then you too can be a sponsor of Blood and Urine. Brought to you by Blood and Urine. I don't know.
That was good.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Like right off
real
the bat, that's
professional.
better than just about any other.
I might edit that
Sponsor
out because
for the
Blood and Urine might start doing your show instead of ours. And I'm not sure what we'd do. If
It
that
sounds
money
like he
dried up.
watched the Mendoza Project.
Oh, there's a tweet just came in. They've actually just dropped
Oh,
us.
God damn it. Great job, Smitty, you fucker.
Sorry. What can I say?
So you've established that you're one of the top lads in the game, and Mainland is emailing you all the time. How do we get into the pro world that you've mastered? And Mike Golick says, I got to retire. I can't compete with this guy anymore. Got to get the fuck out of here.
That's it.
We can find 2 other guys named Mike. That's no problem. Most people are named Mike. But you decide to sully your reputation by coming on the garbage and filth podcast known as ACES Radio. Why did you do this?
Because I want to save the crew, and you guys are saving the crew, so I'm here to do that. And
well, I am. John hasn't really done anything.
I have an Andres Mendoza jersey locked away for special occasions with my lady friend on our anniversary.
Oh my God, that's the sexiest thing to wear.
I don't know why. But I just pictured like that same layout of that like George Costanza.
Yes.
I just pictured you in that pose with nothing but the Mendoza jersey on, just like a little bit of butt peeking out. Just like,
Your wife is just like nothing's going on the night. She thinks it's totally normal, and she just catches like a glimpse of you in a Mendoza jersey, and she's like, "Oh shit!"
No. I insist that she wears a Jacob Thomas jersey, so we have it all balanced out. So.
got it.
I
Not
make Pam
creepy at
wear the
all.
Kevin Burns jersey.
You hit her?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, and then you bury her.
I criticize her play, and then I cut her. Yeah. That's great. So he comes on ACES Radio because you want to save the crew. It's all about saving the crew.
Absolutely.
Got to do it. We're going to do it. Last question, and then we're going to go to break because I have to urinate.
This seems like a very long segment. Did I do that on purpose?
Let's see.
Did that happen?
Compared to
Okay.
segment 1.
It's only
segment
8:50.
one is-
So.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
We're an hour and 40 minutes in. That's about normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
If it lasts longer than an hour and 40 minutes, consult PSV. Yeah.
And we brought it back.
How can user AGS attack be stopped?
I think if you could rig up a dynamite triggered chainsaw to where you fire up the chainsaw, and as it makes impact, dynamite would explode on the blade.
But it wouldn't explode while the chain is going, though. The chain has to touch something.
I don't know how chainsaws work, to be honest with you. So.
Does the operator of the chainsaw also die then?
No, it's the longest blade that the chansaw's ever
Okay.
had. So you're like 30 feet away, so you're good.
Okay.
It's like a 30-foot chainsaw.
Yeah, like the kind they used to chop down giant trees.
That's right. That's the same thing they use. Dynamite-infused chainsaws. I was hanging out with Timber Joey.
I heard,
the other
yeah,
day.
I was going to say, isn't Chimber Joey have one of those?
He does.
I should mention me and all the Grandma Vi, we were doing good things before
Oh,
I
yeah.
got in here. So
You enjoying some
Very
Timber
nice.
Joey? Is that what she calls her strain?
I don't know. The dynamite-infused chainsaw feels like a cocktail or something. It's something you have when you're feeling more adventurous. You know. I've been doing the ginthers for a while, and I feel like it's time to step up a little bit. You raise my
Vodka,
game.
lime bitters, some jalapeno jam.
There you go.
You do your thing, Greg. You can do your thing.
No, I'm good. Back to you.
No, you're not. Do the thing for
It's-
weed.
for weed.
This weed is
Smoke
brought
it
to you
every
by-
day.
Lovely, wonderful.
My
Yeah, I
grandma's
feel like we
favorite-
should have actually planned that.
Yeah, no, that's more of a segment 3 thing, Greg. How dare you?
My grandma's favorite strain is actually MLS2 ATX because it is a pipe dream.
Oh my God!
Jesus.
Well, that's it. Ace Radio's done for the year and possibly for the last time. Wow, that was
Forget it.
We can get. That's why you're a fucking pro, and that's why the mainland
Well,
should
it only
be
took
emailing
an hour and 40 minutes to come up with it. So
Hey, you
yeah.
got
getting
there.
warmed up.
You got there.
You're getting warmed up. So, I mean, look at a guy like John Zadar. He's never said anything good in his entire life. It took you an hour and 45 minutes. That's nothing.
That's true.
That's nothing.
Yep.
Can you stick around for segment 3?
Absolutely.
Fan-fucking-tastic. If you've enjoyed the shit lordery on segment 2, I've got some great news for you. We're coming back on segment 3. We're talking Nor on tour, things flying in windshields, and more. My friends, you are listening to the trash pit known as ACES Radio.
Hot, sicker than your average. Down like goose and I'm fly like Maverick. With the savage attack in a mouth like a mash spitting fuego. Homie, it ain't tricking if it's magic illusions. Indubitably juvenile. My crew can do it and we do it well. Rock around the clock all across the nation. Got a lot of sky miles and a reputation of making earthquakes every time we land. Cause stopping in an option or a part of the plan. Fools get to feeling while I'm running on jet fuel. Now pay close attention cause I'm ready to let you know what I'm all about, child. I got that style that you come to love. And I'ma stay fly till the day I die, spitting fresh to death from above. Get it, David F. Man, you don't stop. David, you don't stop. We came to rock it till the city takes off. Mr. Captain, yeah, I'm an ace pilot, yeah. I wanna spin my wings and fly to all the people in coach, yeah. And to my first class folks, yeah. We'll show you how to scrape the sky.
Oh, yeah, bitches, Walter the Raccoon, and all you dirty, dirty slut puppets alike. Welcome back. It's episode 71 of ACES Radio. We are here on segment 3. What a rare treat indeed. We would usually be heading to Periscope at this moment, but that portion of the season is over here on the show. What a rare treat. I'm actually like looking forward to segment 3s now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now that it's like over.
John's kind of like
prize is done.
I like it's like hatred by osmosis. Like I've just been next to him for so long now that I start to hate the things that he hates.
You're welcome.
Aww.
Am I muted?
Yeah? No?
Did you guys just become best friends?
Why can't I hear myself? Oh, there we go.
There it is. No, I hate segment 3 now, but it's going to be good because we're going to talk about Nor on tour. Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, welcome back to the show. You may recognize him from segments, all of the ones so far.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back.
Sean Sitar. He ruined the Nordic. Jonathan T-Bone Smith from Massive Report.
Yes.
So I meant to ask you this on segment 2. Like, what do your non-soccer, non-radio friends call you?
I've been a lot of people call me Smitty from various things. Jonathan is the family thing, but
is that what Grandma Vi calls you?
Oh, Grandma Vi would be Jonathan for sure. My mom, because my last name's Smith.
Every day.
My last name's Smith, so my parents were very adamant that it's Jonathan Smith, not John Smith, because God forbid someone calls me John Smith, and then I get all those credit cards. So yeah,
yeah, there it is. Wasn't he like a guy in a religious thing? What's his name?
Yeah, there was a John Smith. I think you're right.
Are you thinking of Joseph Smith?
Joseph Smith.
Joseph Smith is the Mormon
the
guy.
Mormon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there Captain John Smith, Pocahontas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren's husband. Or
God,
whatever.
I'm so well read.
Look at that.
Yeah, I almost accidentally got
Spicy
two
taste.
things right, but I didn't. Because
I see what you did there,
It's
John.
either like Smitty, and then like the whole T-Bone thing started, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
That's
is
all.
That
That's
even?
all. Mike thought back to your Costanza thing. Mike thought I reminded him of Costanza,
Okay.
George Costanza, and there's a Seinfeld episode where he decides I'm done with George, and Seinfeld says, "Is this the suicide talk or the nickname talk?" And then he decides he wants to be known as T-Bone, and so that's the nickname he picks out. And then,
And
of
you're
course, he
never
doesn't get
getting
it.
away from that.
No, it's just that's it, and
It's
that's
for
fine.
life.
No, but you can't pick your nickname. So
Right, that's the,
once
yeah,
it happens,
that's the whole
you
point
got
of that
it, yeah.
episode. Is you
exactly.
can't,
no, you
give
cannot
yourself
pick your
a nickname.
But
So-
you had to sit there for
Right?
a
Did
minute.
you hear that, number one handsy boy?
Yeah, that's what people call
Continuing
me, John.
champion.
That too. Yeah,
Notice
people
that
call me
no
a lot
one
of
calls
things.
you that.
The continuing champion is what my family refers to me as.
Oh, really?
They always have. Yeah.
Llewellyn. Where's my grandson, the continuing champion?
That sounds like Dorothy Grossman.
Do your taxes. Hello, continuing champion. Would you like to take a rip off of this bong? I've got a sweet pineapple bong I just finished carving. I made a pipe out of a pear.
I just want to
Smooth
say,
as fuck.
when I'm listening to episode 469, nice.
Oh,
and you guys
yeah.
are still doing something about grandmas ripping bongs, I will know I was there for that moment, and I will be happy.
We are still doing this thing at episode 469. Kill me. Release me. Sweet Jesus.
I will echo that sentiment. If we are still doing this at episode 469, please kill Morgan.
Yeah,
That's
no,
right.
Greg. Kill Greg for sure.
And shit on his chest.
Moving on. Raise your hand, lads, if you've ever been on a bus. No, John, wait a minute. You didn't even know what I was saying.
I just got really
Come
excited.
on. I know you did. Yeah. You just heard raise your hand. You're like, I can do that. What do I get?
That's one for me.
All right. Beat you. If you've ever been on Nor on Tour, raise your hand. Everybody in the room is raising their hand. I didn't, but I was there.
Walter's hand didn't go up.
See, he has to put it on first. Here we go. Okay.
I've actually never been on a Nor on tour.
There he is. Lovely. You live in Washington, D.C. You're a raccoon.
Yeah, ironically, the first Nor on tour I went to was to D.C.
Nice.
And that's how we met.
So...
I wish people could see how gazingly you looked into his eyes, like you were just staring into them. It was very deep and meaning the way you looked.
I've
into his
never
eyes.
loved anyone I now think you love Walter.
Find someone who looks at you the way I just looked at Walter.
That's exactly right.
He like takes this thing around. Like
I love it.
It goes everywhere. It's crazy. Somebody trolled me with this thing. They put it in my trunk because raccoons ate my brake lines or some shit. And it became the love of Greg's life.
Raccoons are well known for their...
I fucking brought it to this garbage show, and you're like, oh, hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, you did this to yourself.
Yeah, I know. I did.
Yeah, really.
And we never figured out who actually fucking bought that. Anyway, back to you, Greg. Nor on Tour has a long history of failure, and this recent trip was no different.
I wouldn't say failure, just hard time.
No. This was complete failure of a situation. Let's go around the table. Give us some of your memories of Nor on Tour. If you haven't been on one that sucked or something went wrong, don't feel like you have to make some up. John, why don't you go ahead? Mostly buses is where these things fail.
My first Nor on Tour was the trip to Chicago a few years ago, where Jordan Kennedy was drunk before we left the parking lot and spilled beer on me.
Yep.
That was
There was
horrible.
like vomiting before the outer bell of 270.
Yeah, we hadn't even made 270 yet.
Yeah.
And then I was there for the whole shit bus debacle.
Yeah.
Which I've mostly blocked out of my memory with the exception of the game, which was good.
Yeah, that was good. Greg?
My only bus trip was the one to DC for the season opener in 2014.
And the air conditioning didn't work or something. I hopped on that bus when you guys pulled in, and it was like stinky, human, and wet hotness.
Yeah, and it wasn't warm, and it wasn't because it was the first game of the season. It's March, so it's not really anything. Like it's just kind of sort of swampy because it's DC, and that's
when
that's
it's
what
50 people in an enclosed space, you need air movement.
Yeah, it really was. And that was enough to convince me that I was never doing the bus again. And every other road game that I went to after that, I either flew or drove.
Yeah, no, they're awful. T-Bone, go ahead.
I went on the bus to Toronto many years ago, and the trip was fine. We had there was a fight in the parking lot that preceded that, but the actual bus trip was A-okay.
Yeah, didn't you guys get accosted coming out of that game?
Yeah, they told us go to separate exits and they won't meet you at the net. The fans were waiting outside for us to kind of
they
taunt
won't
us.
follow you over.
Yeah,
there.
so we just a massive group of people walked down 3 more exits, and then what do you know? The other massive group of people followed.
Massive.
Yeah, hashtag massive.
Yeah,
it plays automatically.
And then that was somebody grabbed someone's scarf, and then there was fake, Euro trash boy fighting. Oh hey, we're in a real hooligan.
Did they manage to throw it more than 3 feet?
Okay, great.
Did John Clem get pepper sprayed?
Roasted. John Clem got roasted. I love that. The one yesterday. First of all, shit bus.
Real quick, I just like to say I
Go
did
ahead.
not ride a bus to sport in Kansas City, but if I did, I'm sure that it would have been delightful.
Oh, thanks,
just
John.
like the city and everything else about that.
Backstory with John is I went to that trip the day after. They were there for a night, and then we went the next afternoon, and it was as if John was this grew up on an island with just one other person and just spoke some weird twin language and hadn't seen indoor plumbing before. And he's like, oh, I'm at their sporters bar. Oh my God, they have a bowling alley and indoor golfing. I mean, it's super impressive, but it was 7 straight hours of, did you know there's 17 urinals in their bathroom?
Actually, now that I think
It
about
was
it,
sweet.
I did travel by bus to one other crew away game, and it was the season opener in Houston, 2015. But
Oh,
it
yeah,
wasn't.
but you
It
went
wasn't.
by,
There, it wasn't the.
you went by
there
bus,
wasn't the
yeah.
bus. Like I
You
took,
went on Greyhound.
I took Greyhound.
Yeah, there's
and
no
wound up
hashtag
getting-
with that. You're just on Greyhound.
Yeah, it was a shit bus, but
Yeah.
it wasn't hashtag shit bus.
Right, exactly. Shit bus was so we thought this was Red Bull second leg 2015 Eastern Conference Finals, and we thought that there's a bus company in town called Urban Express, and it's horrid. And it's horrid.
We had just ridden on it a week and a half prior to City.
Yeah. Well, the last like 5 trips we'd taken, we'd used. They're the cheapest, so
right.
like you got to take that into consideration. But for this one, we're like, fuck no. Like this bus is going to sell out. We won't have any problems. It'll be great. And so we found this other company in town, booked a bus. The bus gets there.
It was supposed to be sweet bus with like Wi-Fi
That's
and
right.
shit on it.
And it was Urban Express again. It was just like a shadow
Shell
corporation.
company.
Yes.
Oh no!
And we watch him pull up. We're like, no, fucking Christ, no. So we get on this bus. We're not even on the. We're not on the freeway for like. We're not even on the freeway yet.
Yep.
It's raining and the windshield wipers don't work.
Yes,
There are 50 people.
I remember following this on Twitter.
Yeah. The defrost doesn't work. The headlights don't work. We're stopped on the freeway. We have to drive in reverse for 5 miles to get in. Like the second bus, the horn won't go off, and like a guy.
We got in. We went to their like staging area, which was just like Gary's garage down an
It was a
alleyway
dump.
in Linden.
It was a literal dump.
Yeah.
And this guy, like, the horn is on, and we're like, this one doesn't seem much better. And this guy runs and punches the steering wheel.
Just runs onto the bus.
Their mechanic punches the steering wheel, and it stops, and just, like, his continued motion carries him away. So then we're reloading all the bags, right? And there's 2 compartments. I'm the last one to load my bags because I'm trying to like control shit. So like I have this whole compartment. I'm like, oh, nobody else gets to be in the roomy luxury compartment for their shit. So we get to New York finally, and everyone else is like that compartment where everyone's shit is. It's fine. Mine flooded.
Oh,
it's flooded. My pillow, all my clothes, the flags. God. It was disgusting. So then we get to the goddamn hotel to check in. Everyone's room is ready to go except Morgan's. And so I just sit in the goddamn... Oh, it was awful. So,
yeah, but then you got like the luxury apartment suite.
Yes, they did. Yeah. Well, they were forced to. They had nothing
they
else.
had nowhere else to
They
put it.
tried to fight it for 2 hours, hoping someone would die.
Was
and
that
they
the
could
one
give
with
me
the
that
grumpy
room.
lady? Or was that the
I don't remember.
City ride? She was like really grumpy
Oh,
as
no,
fuck.
that was
and
New York,
like
yeah.
we were going through Pennsylvania at like 3 a.m, and I remember waking up and looking out the window and you couldn't see shit.
Yeah.
It was like so heavy fog that you couldn't see like more than 2 feet from the bus in any direction.
And
I
she's
was just like
flying at 90
yeah, she's
miles
going
an
like,
hour.
Yeah.
And we're
And
trying
I'm
to
just
talk
like,
to her
I'm
to
just
keep her
gonna go
awake.
back to sleep and die.
Yeah. We're trying to like...
Unconscious.
If I wake up and there is an afterlife, then that'll be
Yeah.
bonus.
Right.
If I don't, then hey, I didn't know it was happening.
Exactly.
I'm sitting in the front seat. Occasionally, I'd just be like, magnets, huh? Those things are pretty fucking weird, right? Just to make sure she's awake.
She was like an older woman. She was like 56. Like,
Oh, John,
yeah.
she was 82.
Okay.
If anything.
Which means probably a grandma who was smoking.
Holy shit. That wasn't fog outside. She was just blowing it out the window.
Okay,
Oh
let's
my
talk about
God.
now that we. So, was anybody here on the bus that the Goose flew into the Philly
No,
trip?
I saw that on Twitter as well, but I
Yeah.
was not
No,
there.
when
I was
that?
supposed
I
to
did
be, but I was
forget.
very
2012
glad that I wasn't.
2012. No,
The
that-
Toronto
that
bus on the
predates
way
me.
back in 2008, 9, whichever one that was. The derecho, remember the derecho that came through here
Yes.
and like knocked power
Oh,
out for
yeah.
people for weeks? That was on the way back.
Oh,
the,
shit.
The crew plane couldn't land.
Oh, that's right.
Remember they almost like
Yeah.
died
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
landing?
yeah.
So on the way down on our bus, like it wasn't that bad, but the bus was moving around quite a bit
sure.
to the point that people were like
Yeah.
white knuckling their seat in front of them. It wasn't like
okay, that's
we
a
were gonna wreck,
significant
but,
thing, though.
But I forgot
Yeah.
about
Thought you
I
were
forgot
gonna
about that until
die.
you said that. Like it was multiple times where the bus was in one lane and all of a sudden it was just whoop. We
Yeah.
were over.
Fuck that.
And no
I drive
car-
a Honda and the fucking wind moves my car,
Yeah.
let alone a giant like
There were
13
no
foot tall bus.
Thankfully, no cars there. But yeah, I forgot about that. But
Yes.
that was the derecho that came through. Was that trip back?
And that's a
from
trip
Toronto.
where nothing went wrong, and you guys
Yeah,
still almost
really.
got blown
It
off
was,
the freeway.
It was mostly okay, but I forgot about that.
The one John mentioned to Chicago, like the last second, the crew scheduled Frankie's 40th birthday party at Flanagan's, and like also Manchester United was playing like Real Madrid at the Big House that weekend. And then LTA decided to get their own bus. So like I paid for this bus up front, and
Oh, no.
and come to like Friday, there were like 6 people confirmed that we're going.
Oh God.
I mean, like, I lost my ass on that bus. So I just like started giving out fucking spots. Anyway, so everybody had a shitload of room on that bus, and we thought like everyone's like a little too comfortable, like super wasted. By the time we get to like
we all had like our
Illinois-
own row.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Everybody's just kind of like passed out. There's vomit everywhere, and that's a good trip. Right?
Joey was serving liquid marijuana on that trip,
Yes.
wasn't he?
Yeah. Jordan
To
Kennedy's
keep with
just
the
like
theme.
spitting up on himself, and that's different than vomiting.
Yeah, Jordan was like wet with like all the fluids.
Yeah.
Like spit,
he'd
sweat,
like shock at a beer, and then like
urine,
third of it
salivia.
would come out of the corner of his mouth and just spill down the front of his blazer.
Yeah. It's like he thought you got drunk by dumping it on yourself.
Yeah.
This one just absorbs your skin, right? That's
Right, yeah.
Quick Jordan anecdote, because I know he listens to this. When we went, what was the game? It was the Open Cup game in Akron. Have you ever heard the road soda story?
No.
Like there was a car of like a few people that went to. I traveled with a friend by myself, but Jordan was with a couple of other people, and they stopped at a gas station to get road sodas, in scare quotes. Jordan thought this was actual soda and comes out with a 6-pack of Pepsi.
Oh, you dumbass.
Not. And poor guy has never been able to live it down. I can't remember who was in the car. I think it was like Andy Hubbard, John Lavelle, and like Casey Casper. I think was the other one.
Dirty
It was like
bastard.
those. I can't remember who.
That was a trip where Morgan as a girl name as a chant started. So
Yes,
hashtag
it was.
blessed. Hashtag
Yes.
blessed. So let's talk about Nor on Tour from yesterday. Or today, actually.
John's
because
going
we
to be mad
just
that
got
I
fucking
shared
back.
that, but I couldn't resist.
So we get to the stadium. I'll just walk you through my day. We get to the stadium Tuesday morning at 5:15. So I had to get up at 4:15. We get to the stadium at 5:15. Everybody's making sure they have passports. 2 buses, right? The first bus is called Fun Bus. The second bus, for some reason, has the word fun 3 times on it. So, like, the rivalry started immediately. You know, I'm like, fuck this other bus, like triple fun, Rebecca Black shit. What's going on?
Oh, that's why
Friday.
you and
Yeah,
Ethan were
it's
saying
Yeah.
that. Oh.
Fun,
I was like, why are they talking about Rebecca Black so much?
So their bus is like the GCG bag bus. That's a fun bus, and they're drinking like Cinery.
It's the one with 5 people trying to smuggle drugs across the border instead of 1.
We get to everything is going fine. Everything's going swimmingly. If anything, my bus was just too boring. Like I was really not having a great time, but I was comfortable. We get to the border, and what happens at the border when you're on a bus is the bus goes to like a separate like customs house. You know, it's like almost like an airport thing.
Right.
You don't just show them your passport and continue on. Everybody gets off. Before you, like somewhere in Buffalo, hashtag Bill's Mafia, you got to stop, get all of the liquor out, put it underneath, all the beer, everything. Because they're super fucking serious. And you're told this via email, via text message, on the bus, right before you get on the bus. This is not a joke time. Don't say yes, sir, no, ma'am, don't fuck around. So they bring this drug sniffing dog, right? Which I remind the audience, as always, is literally an animal which was created just to be able to smell drugs. You know?
Yes, and it doesn't mess around. It has no other purpose nor care in life.
Correct. So, first bus, the bus I'm on, the responsibility bus, right? We get there, and like, no big deal. We all get in line. People are going, shoot, shoot, shoot. So the drug dog comes in, and the guy next to me, the drug dog just goes, smells him, and just sits down. And looks at him, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, that means bad. Oh no,
That's not the way they get through a whole bus. Is if
Right.
the dog just sits by everybody who doesn't have drugs.
Exactly.
The dog is sat down because it wants a treat for doing what it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And obviously, I'm not going to name any names, so whatever.
Yeah, right. Chris
So this dog is spastic attack, right? It's like a Brittany Spaniel spastic attack. Great dog, and then all of a sudden, it's frozen, looking at man next to me. I'm like, oh shit. The drug agent, just to make sure, is like, okay, let's reset. Brings the whole line over again. Yeah, 3, 2, 1. He claps the dog.
Chris Doran stands up.
Yeah. So the dog comes and stops at the guy next to me. Frozen. I'm like, oh my God, you idiot. You really do have. And he's like, oh shit, I have a pipe. And yeah, I think it was a mistake. Whatever. Got rid of the pipe. It was maybe an additional 45 minutes. The whole time I'm thinking like, regardless of what you think about weed, and I don't smoke weed, but I certainly don't consider it an illicit drug by any means.
Yeah.
But You're not supposed to take it over borders.
We
Right,
had
you're
this
supposed to
conversation
ca-
off the air.
It's
like,
illegal to do that.
Yeah,
Right,
we're
put it
all
in gummy bears or don't.
like everybody in this room is very liberal with regards to drug policy or whatever. But yeah, come on. Like you've got to know if you're doing, particularly if you're doing a border crossing, if you're getting on a plane, if you're doing like any one of these particular things.
If you've ever seen a movie, you know it should be in your ass or not on you.
That's
at all.
exactly right, John. That's what they're saying on the street.
Rough lads.
So I feel terrible. We caused like this 45-minute delay, and it's just us and the bus, the fun bus, and it's behind us. I'm like, oh, these guys are going to be so pissed. So we eventually get out of there. No tickets are written, nothing. Everything's fine. And we get it on the bus, and we're sitting there. We're sitting there. And we're sitting there. We continue to sit there, and we're not moving, and nothing's happening, and the bus behind us hasn't moved, and there's no one on it. So we finally start to get like text messages from friends on the other bus, and it's just like somebody tried to text you from the middle of a tornado. Like emojis, like the number 8, the letter, the word "the" with the H and the E reversed.
Like they're doing it in their pocket behind their back because they're not supposed to be on
something's
it.
Something's not right here. So we're sitting on this bus for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So now we're 2 hours and 45 minutes into this thing. It turns out that our small problem with marijuana on bus 1 was nothing for the fun bus. They had 5 people with weed. Fucking 5.
They were all named Mildred. And
it was just the Golden Girls.
All right, ladies, get up.
This is GCG bag bus, of course. So, like, one guy decides, oh, yeah, no, this isn't a good idea. Because, mind you, they're watching the drug dog get on our bus. Yeah. So you now have 5 people that are aware that there's a drug dog.
Everyone just stands up and proceeds to the restroom at the back.
One person does that. One person dumps all of their
yes.
And it's like it's 1972. Everybody had a bunch of joints. It was like,
oh god,
like you all decided to bring joints, Cheech.
Let's fast forward to the end of the show. What's GCG bag got going on this week? Drum circle,
right? Exactly. Checking the water, man.
I don't know. I'll have to ask the parole officers.
So then we start getting rumors of not only weed, because we're getting pieces and parts of this from on bus 1. On the
Things have taken a turn south. Yeah. Ethan has killed a border guard.
Then we're told that not only weed cigarettes, as they're saying in the industry, had been smuggled. A person had been smuggled. Now we
weed
start
cigarettes. Is this reefer madness all over again? It wouldn't surprise me if they were all smoking marijuana cigarettes.
That's right, Greg. Now we start hearing that.
I heard someone say "Hail Satan."
Oh, it's GCG bag. There's a guy in the back. I'm like, where the fuck were they hiding him?
Just a man.
There's just a bathroom. Like, where could you even hide in that?
It's just Precourt with a mustache.
So then we get.
I planted weed on all of you.
Don't ever catch me, coppers.
Precourt's snidely whiplash now, apparently.
So then we get the piece of information. Oh,
the bus seats 50, but there are only 5 on board.
This is great. It's not a person that they're smuggling. One of the people has a fake travel passport. Thank you.
Travel thing. He does this Italian hand motion.
Travel document.
Try the pasta.
Sebastian Divingo, hey.
So the passport is not good. It's a fake.
Why you do this to me, Greg? You interrupt my... So finally, we're just okay, we're not guessing anymore. We don't know what's happening. There are rumors of narcotics. There are rumors of people being smuggled. There are rumors of fake passports.
Guys, it's really crazy. Dave pulled his face off. He's an alien.
The dog won't go away from him. The guy's just and rips his face off. What? I've been friends with you for 12 years. Talk about the long con. Jesus. So we never figure out what the fuck is going on. And the guy who's the leader on that bus gets on and he's like, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to go. And if they can't go, if that bus gets denied, we have to turn around and go.
There's no splitting of the buses.
Nope. That's why we're still sitting there for
We all came together and we're all going to leave
we have
together.
Buddies.
Yeah, get Darla. I don't care how cute that boy is.
Is that Katie Mitchell?
Yeah, oh my God.
Oh, Katie Mitchell, everyone.
Was there any strawberry stuff?
There was a lot of it. So, okay,
Not enough.
I'm going to stop there and just say there was a lot of fuckery, right? So we spend 3 hours. We spend 3 hours at the border. The law requires every bus driver to, if you're doing a down and back, to have 8 hours of sleep, and that clock starts when the bus driver sets foot in the hotel.
It's the same drivers that take you there are taking you home.
That's right.
Yeah.
So not only have we been there for 3 hours, now we're delayed so long that we're going to deal with Toronto rush hour traffic. That fucking sucks. So we were supposed to get in Toronto like 12:30, 1 o'clock. We are now aiming to get there around 6 o'clock. And 6 o'clock is when we were supposed to have our security, lead us into the stadium. All of this to say, okay, yeah, we missed out on like the 5-6 hours of like pre-gaming with our friends and seeing our out-of-town buddies and all that shit. But like the clock still hasn't started for the fucking bus drivers. So we get there and bunch of Toronto fuckboys. They're lighting off fireworks at us. Like, it sucks. They're chanting Austin, and they made, like, tifos, and that sucks. But, like, I'm just thinking, get the goddamn bus drivers to the fucking hotel.
Right.
So fast forward to the end of the game. Obviously, the crew lose. Everything's fucking shitty. We get down to, like, the exit, and I hear somebody say, oh, yeah, no, the bus drivers can't even come back until 3:30.
What?
We were supposed to leave right after the game.
Because the bus drivers got to the hotel at, what, like 6:30?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something crazy like that. So now we have, and the game is over before 10 o'clock. So now we have like 5.5 hours where we don't have hotel rooms.
Yeah.
We don't have like places to go. BMO Field's not exactly in the middle of like a, booming metropolitan area that's like...
That's shocking because I heard MLS only wants stadiums that are in urban cores with booming metropolitan areas right around them.
I'll take that back.
That
They
cannot
are.
be true.
They are, but they're, it's not like it's not like they play in the middle of Easton.
No, I know.
It's exhibition plays.
You know what's oddly enough, it's a lot like a fairgrounds location where there's just a bunch of parking and a lot
It
of
is very much like
exhibition
that,
halls
actually.
and things, but
Right.
not like you can go into
Exactly.
a restaurant or something. Yeah.
Exactly. So we go off and like first of all it's fucking freezing and no one is dressed appropriately because all we have to do is get off the bus, watch the game, get back on the bus. It's freezing fucking cold. Now it's the middle of the night. We go and like we cheer on the players or something when they're getting on the bus. And now we have like 5.5 hours to fucking kill. So we have to go, we find a bar. I hop in a cab with the guys from Land Grant, and I'm just like, dude, we need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I can't feel my feet anymore. And we find this bar, but they're closing at like 12:45, and they kick us the fuck out. So like, and mind you, there's 100 people. 100
You
people.
all were going to the same bar, or you were just like...
Yeah, we were all going to the same bar.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it was the bar we were supposed to be at before the game. And they told us we couldn't come, but we came anyway. And
Called and said, can we come? And they said no. And
yeah,
said,
because we're bringing 100
Here we
people.
are, walking
Yeah.
in the door.
Well,
Yeah, there's 100 of us, and we're American.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll just take all this money you might make and go elsewhere then.
I was flabbergasted. They're like, well, you all need to do one check. I'm like, no, wait.
One check for 100 people?
Yeah. Like, do you say that to
At
like
a bar?
all the people that are at your restaurant at the same time? Like, what the anyway. So they kick us out because they're closing and like it's kind of like a there's like a breezeway that's like big and there's like a team shop and this and that and a bar and we're like okay we'll just like lay on the ground here and like we'll just try to kill 3.5 hours. That lasted 3 minutes before we got booted from there. So now we're just like we are in the middle of the street. In the middle of Toronto, it's nighttime, it's freezing fucking cold, and we still have like 2.5 hours left. And we're just walking around chanting about Timbits because we're carrying all of the same. We're still in soccer game mode. Like we all still have our flags, their drums, like everyone's wearing scarves, and so you're watching like Nor on tour aimlessly wander around.
Are we talking like? Are you just talking like Timbits? Are we talking like wise men?
Yeah, we're talking the
say,
latter. Yeah, like
only
drums and everything.
glazed donuts go.
It was literally just
There's only one
Timbits.
Tim Hortons.
So then coincidentally, we find a Tim Hortons, and it's 24 hours. And by that time, like, we have 45 minutes left, and everyone's just... It's like The Walking Dead. Like, we open the door, it's like... and 100 people spill into this fucking tiny Tim Hortons, and the 2 people working on the night... On the night
With his
shift, you're just
ukulele.
like... What the hell happened? I felt...
Tiptoe through the Timbits.
Yeah, you know what you do in that situation if you're one of the 2 workers? You immediately put a fucking tip jar out.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yes, you do.
Or you just tell them no. I mean, they could have done that, but they were super nice. I felt terrible about them before I even knew they existed, and I tried to find a parking garage to go, like, crouch in, and I found, like, an underground one. Because I'm like, oh, basement, like, if you're underground, it's still, like, the temperature is going to be regulated and it should be fine. So I, like, start walking down this thing, and, like, some guy appears out of nowhere. He's like, fuck no. I know what you're doing. Get out of here. Like,
disgusting homeless American.
Well, I said,
have you ever seen it was a British show for a while, the Real Football Factories? Did you ever watch that? You guys ever heard of this?
Yep.
With Danny Dyer, who was like,
Yes.
there was a movie called Football Factories, and it was about, like, English soccer firms and, like, all those, fights and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It
Rough
was like
lads.
the Green Street Hooligans light.
Yeah.
So he goes
Rough lads.
Yes. He goes to international, eventually goes to international, like, all around. And his, like, show was all about, I'm here in, I'm in the Milan Derby, and I'm here to see what the rough lads want to do. And it's like guys with guns who will, like, shoot you if you're from the other team. Like,
Yeah.
your guy's version is like, oh, we all walking around for a Tim Hortons looking for a place to knock her off, you know what I mean? Well, it was 3 a.m, we're yelling at strangers, eh? Here we are.
That's the reason that MLS isn't taken seriously.
like, that's
it's not
why-
the single entity structure. It's not the team names. It's that.
Is this where we say we need promotion relegation so we can get, or no? Okay.
so we find ourselves on Main Street.
Hey,
right?
let it be known, Columbus Ultras are so hard. They wandered the streets of Toronto till 3 a.m. looking for a fight.
Looking for a fight. But that's what
exactly right.
That's what happens. That's what happens when pro rel comes to America. Is like your ultra fights have to happen inside like a Jolly Pirate Donuts or something.
What were they cheering about?
You're not
This
on Tim
left hook
Hortons
brought
level
to you
anymore.
by Wendy's.
You're not on Tim Hortons level anymore.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So I get kicked out of this underground parking garage. And, I'm like, okay, I'll go to this Tim Hortons. And so then we get in contact with the bus drivers because they were originally going to pick us up at this train station. But we've wandered so far away from it that, ain't nobody got time for that. So we tell them, okay, it's this address. And they're like, all right, we'll be there at 3:30. And by the time we had arrived at Tim Hortons and taken over and fallen asleep, and people were, like, customers were taking pictures of us. Yeah. And
But you should have taken a picture back because who the hell is going to Tim Hortons at 3:30 in the morning?
Right.
construction workers.
Oh, well,
and
okay.
here's why
Fair,
they're
fair.
there. Because by the time we got there and the buses were going to show up, the city had closed that street and torn it up to repave it. Yep. So the bus drivers can't fucking get there. Like, we finally find a place where it's, like, warm and we'll live, at least for an hour. And they're like, we're going to tear up the street.
I feel like this is
the
the
city
part.
of Toronto is so terrified of us, they're tearing up the bloody streets, okay? So here we go, looking for a row.
It's like that part in, like, Scooby-Doo where, like, you're trying to find your way out of the maze and you're, like, right on the wall that you turned left here. And as soon as you turn and walk away, someone comes and flips the sign back. So you're like,
Oh, those wily Canadians.
Yeah, and so we walk outside, and it's like now we have to scramble. Like, the buses have no way of communicating. Like, they're not from Toronto, we're not from Toronto. They're like, we're on a street downtown. Sweet, awesome. So not only have they torn up the fucking street, they've sprayed this chemical all over it, and all these construction workers are wearing, like, these protective, like, boots and pants and shit.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And so, like, we have to, like, walk through these chemicals. Like, there's no way to get away from them. They've cornered us with their ZZ protective boots.
oh my God, they've sprayed fake synthetic urine all over the place.
As opposed to real synthetic urine.
Whatever you need.
So
For your lady
hold on
friend.
a second. Did you do those commercials?
I wish I had his money.
What do you want to be? Party, party, party. He does say party, party, party.
Your party, hardy, party store.
Oh my God.
You can't say it any less excited than he said it.
Yes.
Try saying fun, fun, fun bus in that
Fun,
voice.
fun, fun bus.
Hang on a second. Is that Anthony Precourt
Oh
or
my
Greg
God.
Berhalter? I can't tell.
I think it's one of them. I don't know what YOLO Swag 24/7 plays. So we finally get back on the bus, and it's fine. It's like 3:45, but we're supposed to be home in like less than 2 hours from when we got on the bus, and like, that kind of matters to like some of the college kids who have like finals right now.
Oh, God.
Like Alex Sprague had to, like, he's going to graduate soon, and like his chemistry,
Maybe.
one of his chemistry finals, that's 20% of his
Squirrel
grade.
the dog is
know?
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank Christ he'd get it rescheduled, but like, again, it all goes
That's
back.
why I said maybe, by the way. I'm not implying that Alex Sprague is not able to graduate on his own.
A lot of people are saying they have no idea how he even made it past middle school, Greg. He's very dumb. No one's laughing about that. It seems very mean.
That's why I didn't laugh.
That was actually quite cruel.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Well,
but
this man was walking through chemicals on a busted up street
Right.
less
Yeah.
than 24 hours
Let's
ago.
be real.
he
You're
can't
all
be
gonna
that
have
good of a
cancer.
chemist.
Yeah.
So this is all because like 6 people were
Everyone's
just
in
like
the chemicals, and Alex is like back inside the Tim Hortons. Like, why is he in
Yes,
there?
I
I,
know what
don't
this
know,
is.
but I don't like it.
I'm not going to walk through that.
I feel like he knows something.
Yeah. And okay, so yeah, no, we finally get back at like 1:45, 2 o'clock this afternoon, and it's just like, I mean, I've been up since basically 4:15 yesterday morning,
You were supposed to be back at what time?
like 5:30 a.m.
A.m.
Yeah.
and you didn't get back till 2:30 p.m.
Yeah, something like that. It was awful. At no point during this entire trip. Now, remember that we were supposed to have like this leisure time and be on the bus on the exact right moment where people normally go to sleep. And, you know, like, we'll wake up at just the time that you usually get up to go to work. It's all figured out. And it was like, no, fuck you. Everything sucks. You don't get any leisure time. You don't get to see your friends. You're just like, I felt like cattle the entire day. And that was Nora on tour. And also the cruise season ended. And also Anthony Precourt's trying to steal our fucking team. Back to you, T-Bone.
Yeah, that is if you were trying to write the movie about like someone is writing a movie saying, all right, like those Ben Affleck movies where it was always like he does everything wrong and he is inept at everything.
Yeah.
They would be writing that and going,
Geely.
yeah, they're gonna or not. Yeah, I said Ben Affleck. I meant Ben Stiller, but sure, Ben Affleck
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
like like Meet the Parents movie where it's like, oh, and then he set the gazebo on fire.
Right.
Like nowhere in there, like, and they chipped up the road and put chemicals on it that will burn your feet off. And like you couldn't write that.
And then they got into,
insane.
and then the Ultras started shooting fireworks at him, and a lady fell over and cracked her head on the cement. Because that happened after the game, too. The
jeez.
Toronto people were fucking horrible. Their Ultras were.
No, those are the same.
Yeah.
The Ultras were the ones that gave us trouble when we were up there, again, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's just, apparently nothing's changed.
Dude, it's been so long since I've dealt with that this guy ran up to me and Bobbitt before the game, and he was like, what the fuck are you doing in our city? And I was like, nice.
Spending my money.
It's like, oh, you're one of those that think that's a thing.
I thought he was
That's cute. Do you do balloon animals? Or?
Yeah. I was like, yeah,
You
dude,
fucking
awesome.
clown.
And he's like, what? I'm like, oh, shit, this is real?
Like, I
Nice.
thought you were joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay, well, we're here for a game.
You know you come across as a joke, right?
And then they do that classic thing where they're like, go back to Columbus. We're like, well, yeah,
love to.
we are.
Yeah, all our stuff's there.
That was actually the plan.
We live there. That's
No,
where...
we've just decided to immigrate and brought none of our things, and we live on a bus.
Let me
That
tell you,
was our plan.
We tried to bring you some weed, but
But the dog ate
yeah,
it.
we had
Our
gifts,
grandmother
but-
smoked all of it at the border, so no.
So in the last part of Cirque's book about the Save the Crew movement, I think there will be like a footnote, like, here's the crazy story about the Nora on tour fuckery.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I have nothing. Like nobody. I don't think any of those Nora on tour stories are going to compete with that.
Well, I was thinking the whole time, like, at least it wasn't Shitbus. But now, John said before the show, he's like, Shitbus was nothing compared to that mess. I'm like,
No.
oh, yeah, this was the worst
I would
thing
rather
ever.
write
You're right.
Shitbus.
Well, because you were
than
on
that.
a bus.
Yeah.
Like this part of it was
Right.
that there was no bus for 5 hours
Yeah.
in a strange city, and no like,
Right.
oh well, we'll just go to our hotel room.
Right, at least we were on a bus made of shit. But at least
Right.
we were on a bus.
And those are just the big things that happen. Like, when we were at the bar before they kicked us out, like, it's basically just all crew fans. Everybody else is gone. And there's, like, this weird guy that's, like, super tan with a tucked-in shirt and, like...
and a mustache. And his name's Amphony.
No.
Anthony
And he's,
Cortes.
he's standing at the bar, and he's...
Pre-coitus.
and he's just... And he's dancing.
Not anymore after that visual.
And he's just dancing like very sultry. He's, you know, and then looking directly at Bridget.
I didn't
who's
know
one
Jen
of our
Juicer
friends.
had gone on the trip.
That's very funny. John. and Bridget taps me and she's like, "Are you seeing this fucking guy? Like, he's been looking at me for 7.5 minutes
Who?
doing this Bridget, a crew fan." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna." And I was completely just fucking done with the world. I'm like, I'm not gonna deal with that. So I turn around, and then when I turn back around, he's walking up, and he's like just dancing still right next to us, and he's like, "I love you. I like America. Very great." And he's like this weird Eastern European guy. He's like, "I don't speak English, but I want to come over and tell." And I'm like, "You're speaking perfect English."
Your definition of "I don't speak that language" is wrong.
He's like, "What are you in town for?"
Is that the first thing that you learn in a foreign language course? Is I don't speak insert language here? I mean,
Yeah, duh. Everybody knows no hablo español.
Yeah, right.
I don't speak French. Yeah, see, remember that.
That's very
that was
convincing.
yeah. So then what? The guy pulled his face off and he was an alien?
I had to walk away because he was like. Then
you just left her there with him?
No, there were like 100 other crew fans, John. I had to walk away because he was like, "Where are you guys from? You're from Columbus, Ohio." And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I've been to Columbus, Ohio many times. It's a very beautiful city." I'm like, "This guy's
This
going
is
to
amazing
rob us."
non-English.
Yeah.
I like how you're like, this guy's going to rob 100 people.
Yeah. And he's still
We will
dancing.
just sit here and let him do it.
But he's still dancing. You can't stop a guy like
Then
that.
10 minutes later, you're like, you know what? Let's lay down on the ground. That's a perfect plan. Right. And then he's like, finally, they have this fabulous
excellent.
I wore them down with my dancing.
I was giving up. I was done. There were 1,000 things that happened on that fucking trip. It sucks. And I still haven't gone to sleep. I sent the goddamn graphics out for ACES Radio today on that goddamn bus.
I just saw them on my way here when I was like leaving to come here, and you were like, "I'm still on the bus."
Yeah,
and that's how I was like, "Oh shit!"
I'm not turning caps lock off. I fucking hate this.
Actually, your "I'm still on this bus" actually contained a whole lot of emojis. I was wondering if you got held up on the border on the way back.
Did it?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was just a couple of misspellings, but
yeah.
I expect that from
I'll
you.
do that sometimes. Well, that's the end of the Nora on Tour recap for this week. Your thoughts, John
I feel
Zadar?
sad.
If we could just maybe for next season, instead of doing hot takes, just have you go through a series of insufferable situations and we talk about them, that would be great.
Every Thursday?
I would love segment 3 if that's what we did.
Take
That
several
and-
for the team. I mean, it's
Buy weed for
For
a
entertainment.
grandmother every week so you can get her reaction.
Yes.
And you've got the show.
So you know how I told you like our bus was kind of quiet? On the way up there before everything had gone tragically wrong, do you remember the kid that was at Tifo Sweat doing MLS Cup and he was like crazy super spaz kid? He was like running around like, show me like where the other banners are. And I don't know.
Maybe. Is that kid with the finger picture? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I know who's
Dwayne's
yeah,
kid.
Yeah,
Dwayne's kid.
Yep.
And so like for some reason this kid is just like on fire. He's got like one-liners, like he's dropping jokes. And,
He was on your bus?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And he's sitting like the seat next and back to me. And I'm great with kids, by the way, John. I don't know if you knew that.
Well.
So the bus is super silent for a second, and he just goes, Morgan showed me around his warehouse one time. I turn around, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, where does this come from? What happened? And it took me a solid like 7 seconds to realize what he was talking about. I'm
Basically,
like,
there are like 7 undercover cops who are also in the Nordeca, and they're like, "You're under arrest.
Yes.
We're just going to do
Oh,
that."
hold on, my phone just buzzed. Yeah, Morgan Hughes has been fired from ACES Radio.
Amber Alert. But it's all of like the local business leaders who are involved to save the crew, like, you know, Jenny's and you know, I've already named all of them, I think.
Mickey or Mikey.
But like all these local business owners just sitting there and they hear, Morgan walked me around his warehouse. I'm like, oh my God,
This
no.
is a lot bigger than his van.
What did I tell you about the beginning of that story and how you have to tell it?
I thought every time we got on one, we were supposed to take our clothes off. Why is everyone so dressed? I'm not as tired on this one as I usually am immediately on the other one.
Where's the candy that's on the other bus?
Yeah, I did make a candy joke.
This Snickers isn't making me sleepy like it usually does. I haven't taken a nap since it got on. This is great.
Yeah, great times. That was fun. That was fun. Your thoughts, Greg Benson?
Oh, I have nothing to add.
It was tragic. It was awful. I think that's the end of the show. I think that's going to be it.
That's a good place to
T-Bone, Smitty,
to wrap it
Jonathan. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
You got any parting shots? Can we get the rundown real quick?
Yeah, the rundown was make sure, crew lost, season's over.
Yeah.
Pre-court sucks.
Yeah.
Keep fighting. Give your grandma's weed.
Yeah.
Smoke your grandma's weed with her.
That's right.
Don't go to Toronto for any reason ever.
Yeah.
Not on a bus, at least. Not with people who smoke weed.
Never do that.
And
No bus trips with your grandmother.
No.
Then.
Yeah.
No, actually, those actually cancel each other out, so it works out fine. And then hashtag save the crew.
Fuck yeah. This has been the rundown brought to you by ZZ Boots, Wildman's Leather and Lace. Greg, you doing stand-up anywhere this weekend?
No, I'm just going to go hang out with GCG Bag because they got the better weed.
Fuck yeah. Smoke weed every day. John, you doing stand-up anywhere?
I was thinking about spraying some synthetic urine across the street.
Lovely. Lovely. Stick around, everybody, for the post-game show where John sprays urine all over you once you try to leave.
Coming to you live from Periscope.
Thanks, as always, to our guest on this edition, Jonathan T-Bone Smith. It's been episode 71 of ACES Radio. We'll be back next week for the season finale. Trophies will be handed out. Mike Flick will be here. Tune in to find out who gets what place trophy. What a rare treat indeed. And all Lord Guillermo's people said...
Smoke weed every day.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Please have a party. Feed us drinks. Get us laid. Ow!
Dude, don't pretend like you're busy working or something, dude. You know you're in bed, just watching PlayStation or something like that.
That's the word on the street.